not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.
Yo, we back on the block with shadows creeping, secrets talk. Jimmy and Auntie Deb in the mix. Wait till you hear the knock.
It was the night of the wheel, but laughter turned to ice. Crowd roaring like thunder, gossip like a vice. Nurse Kim in the spotlight, did she pay the price? Jimmy pointing fingers, yo, Auntie Deb precise. Talking behind the scenes, truth twisted like a knife. Accusations buzzing in the air like it's some kind of strife. Infidelity in the whispers, crossing lines cut through. Auntie Deb snitching out her best friend, watching The View.
Jimmy snitch king, dating Nurse Kim real low. Adulterous woman, that's what he chose to throw. Left the husband in the dust for a fling she found online. The night turned dark, yo, that tea didn't shine.
Wilbur of then lit, but they threw shade. Nurse Kim's name on the list, and they started to blade. A tramp, they said, as if they held the crown and fighting among the riders. They tearing it down. Ride or die, that's the code, but loyalty's weak in the community's eyes. Man, the drama's at its peak. Turtle riders stirring pots like witches at a brew. What's real, what's fake, can't separate the truth.
Yeah. Jimmy snitch king, paid Nurse Kim real low. Adulterous woman, that's what he chose to throw. Left the husband in the dust for a fling she found online. The night turned dark, yo, that tea didn't shine. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey, hey. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey, hey. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey, hey. Jimmy snitch king, hey, hey.
Late night bad vibes, backstabbers in the crew.
Friends turn foes, man. How are we supposed to get through? Auntie Deb the whisper took the dagger in the dark. We were supposed to ride, but this leave a heavy mark. Nurse Kim's in the shadows, hearts heavy like lead. Jimmy threw her under, beat her down till she bled. Divorce papers served, all caught in this game. But who's really guilty, man? Should we feel the shame? Yo, snitching in the spotlight, watch the fire spark. One night it will, but you know it left a mark. Nurse Kim in the dark, fighting battles to win in this twisted game. Where do we begin?
Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king.
Yeah, they ask if I'm okay, but they can't see the scars. Behind this smile, yeah, I'm pushing through the bars. Yeah. They ask if I'm okay, I just flash them a smile. Put on my mask, walk around for a while. But inside I'm drowning, lungs filled with doubts. Figuring out what this life's really about. Only flowers that you get are when you're 6 feet deep. On the day you die, that's the price we keep. I think I feel the pain, my father's legacy. Sinking in hard, feeling lost like I'm a sea. If these walls could talk, they whisper my blame. All those late nights juggling fear and shame. They tell you it's my fault, that I don't try hard, that I ain't man enough, living life on guard. Yeah, I burn everything that my hands touch. Set fire to dreams, keep them wild like a rush. I'm struggling, hustling just to find my place. But in the mirror it's true, can I face my own face? Yeah, I burn everything that my hands touch. Set fire to dreams, keep them wild like a rush. I'm struggling, hustling just to find my place. But in the mirror it's true, can I face my own face? Pressure builds daily like weight on my chest. So I'm looking for solace, just a moment to rest. But the nights get complicated, raising thoughts collide. Trying to be a man, but got nowhere to hide. Sometimes I feel the shadows creep in like a thief.
Yo, listen close, it's about to get real, you know how we roll. Came through the door, time to expose what's untold.
Cease and desist, yeah, they coming for the crown. Pawn against it, high fiending like they running this town. Braga with a briefcase, lawyer up, the stakes rise high. Only the guilty sweat and tell me who's paying the way. Why?
Can we keep it real, podcast? Got them in the sights. Expose the truth, man, we shining through the night. Barely don't you have some makeup to slap on? And Anna Maria in the boy shower, girl, what's going on? It's a circus act. It's a shame to see the role models fade. Sleep around campus, but who's really getting paid? What type of example you setting? Who you trying to teach? Teacher on the low, can't afford that type of breach. Teacher on the low, can't afford that type of breach. Teachers doing wrong, your beetle making you do it again. Predatory skills just like a game of chess, man. It takes a special dude with a year of restraining orders in sight against his own daughter. Tell me, is that even right? Another low drop, child support. How low will you go? Now you suing the blogger, exposing all that you know over public records. Don't take it personal, this just entertainment, huh? Yeah, right, tell that to the chaos that you've been creating, son. It's a circus act, it's a shame to see the role models fade. Sleeping around campus, but who's really getting played? What type of example you setting, who you trying to teach? Teacher on the low, can't afford that type of breach. Flying, but the truth gon' remain.
Yo, Turtleboy, you think you run the game, but your followers are lost. Just look at the aim. A cult-like crew, chant stupid is bliss, but ignorance ain't gold, man. It's just a hit or miss. You're like the lad school, locking folks away, trying to cure the world with your twisted cliche. Take stupid out of society, that's your big scheme, but you're the punchline, bro. A meme. Turtleboy, what's your claim to fame? Lost in a sea of nonsense, playing a sad game. You think you're the boss? In a world full of wisdom, you're just breaking the rules. Look around, Turtle. You're swimming in trash while the real ones are rising. We're making us splash. You're hide in your shell, but the truth's gonna bite. You're a joke in the daylight, a shadow at night. Your followers lost, confused, stuck in the past. They chant for a future that'll never be.
Yo, Turtleboy, you think you run the game, but your followers are lost. Just look at their aim.
Yeah. A cult-like crew, chanting stupid is bliss, but ignorance ain't gold, man. It's just a hit or miss. You're like the lad school, locking folks away, trying to cure the world with your twisted cliche. Take stupid out of society.
You know the story. It's heavy in the air. When a father turns to shadows, how could you even dare? Yo, Will Henry, you a sucker. Let's break it down. Claim you a man, but where's your crown? Put your hands up, kid. You taught him how to fight, but you ain't fighting right, man. This ain't no light. You grab your son, run off like a thief in the night. Where's the love? This ain't how you raise a child, right? Kicking your son out like he's just a game piece. How you claim to be a dad, forgetting his release. Will Henry, you a sucker. Can't you see the glare? Claiming blackmailing the myth. You think no one cares? Special needs child, you're running from the truth. But every word you spit just reveals your own you. Admitting the violence, it's hard for me to trust. Fighting your kid, nah, that's just unjust. 6'2", but he's still your son at the core. Raising fists over lessons, that ain't what you're for. Talk about forgiveness, but you let ego reign. Dragging things out like a puppet on a chain. You think you're tough, man, but underneath is weak. Claiming power with fists when it should be love you seek. Allegations swirling, made public and raw, yet you try to justify and glaze over the flaw. Just look in the mirror, see the man you become. A name in the charts, but what's under that drum? Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmailing violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you claim it's all fine, but the truth's in the lineup, is living in every line. Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmailing violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you claim it's all fine, but the truth's in the lineup, is living in every line. Look, I'm not built to watch a man tear down his own. You need to change direction before the seed you've sown. A name ain't a warrior, it's the truth that empowers. So rise up, Will, and stop hiding in the towers.
Mic check, mic check, mic check. Hello. What's going on, everybody? How we doing today, man? It's been a couple days Been a couple days since I've been around. Had to get some rest. But what is going on, man? Shout out to everybody holding it down. I want to talk about, you see the name of this particular one, Kelsey sits down with Turtleboy for interview. I'm not sure how I feel about that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. How do you guys feel about that? A friend of my enemy is my enemy. Friend of my enemy is my friend. What's been going on? I see Sanchez actually offered Kelsey $100,000 not to even do an interview with Turtleboy. That's crazy, right? But there's so many great content creators out there. When people say to me, Turtleboy built this movement, and I say, no, he didn't. Turtleboy was just the loudest one in the damn room. There was some great key figures around. So many content creators, Mike Crawford, Brian, JFK, during the first trial with him down the Celtics games, he brings around, James, they reinvent James Jackson, Kevy Kev, and they bring Jay Brilliant around. Jay Brilliant makes his big debut with the Jigga video, recording, Haverhill Police on a live in Jigga, so shout out to Jay Brill. But there's been so many great streamers, Boston Brandy, so many great ones, and if you want to talk about the glare, and Turtleboy, for all you people that like that type of edge, and how about spaces, some great spaces, Babs has spaces over there, the lady from Switzerland, Nina, has spaces over there, so a lot of good spaces, and a lot of people really exposing and defending the Turtleboy movement. But when you sit with the devil, you come out smelling like smoke. I seen that Sanchez was like, I will give Kelsey $100,000 to not do an interview with the Turtle. Hey, let's see what some of you comments say. Greetings, y'all. What's going on? The first to say out loud, Kelsey is not too bright. Shout out Jimmy Speaks. What's up? Shout out Brown Eyes. Good morning, Chuck. Chuck is, but all right. Good morning. I can't believe she interviewed with him. I didn't watch, though, as I refuse to give him a view. I'm the same way. I didn't even watch it. I just actually heard that there was an interview. When I seen Sanchez was like, yo, I'll give you 100,000. Like, how do you turn that down? 100,000 to not do the interview now or ever. I would have had to take the 100,000. And knowing that Kelsey definitely needs the money. Morning. Oops, chat. I personally don't think Kelsey is well mentally. Right? Jimmy, I couldn't either, but there goes the comments, but I was thinking about it. First, those of you that just joining us, my name is Mike. I'm the host of the Can We Keep It Real podcast. We're going on about 8 years. I ain't new to the Karen Reed thing. I just started really speaking up more frequently about it. Always been here, but some people pretend not to see what's right in front of us, and we definitely can't ignore those red flags. Let me shut off that tough music that was playing. But some people do forget the red flags, and sometimes they forget them because something else is waving in their face. And today, maybe we could talk about something that's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Kelsey Fitzsimmons, sitting down with Aidan Kearney, Turtleboy, for an interview. The interview that says more than the words, and that's what I get out of it, like as soon as I've seen, I feel she was, what? You're probably 100% right. Yep. Sanchez said $100,000. Don't do the interview now or ever. I don't know who Sanchez is, but I'm sure, I seen him offer big bags before. I think he offered that he was going to buy the rights to the Turtleboy doc, and until I think you're a bullshitter, I tend to believe that Sanchez really has money like that, So 100,000, he said, don't do the interview, and I think that might have been pressured as well, by probably Bradle, or maybe she kind of said, when he said, "Hey, will you do an interview with me?" And on the spot when people say things, kind of like when you go to a funeral, and yeah, you say, "If you need anything, call me," but you really don't mean it. You really don't mean for them to call you, and that's probably what it was. Yeah, sure. And then it's like, all right, are you ready to do the interview on the spot? What happened to conflict of interest after what? Absolutely, after what was done to Karen, I don't know how any woman would go to his platform to share their story. He clearly exploits women. I've been saying that forever. I'm worried they're dating. I hope not. I hope Kelsey has more brains than that, to date somebody as wrinkled up and old as Aidan Kearney. Well, Kelsey, don't sit on the couch. New couch, old couch, don't sit on the damn couch. But I would hope that that Kelsey isn't doing anything like that. Please, God, may they not be dating. No, I don't think so. Don't go to the house. But people can talk to whoever he said, no, not the couch. People can talk to, whoever they want. Adults make their own choices, and Kelsey, we see, is making her own choice, but I'm sure she is not getting $100,000, for let me see if I actually had it. I'm sure she's not getting $100,000 like Sanchez was willing to pay. I'm seeing if I can find that right now. There we go. See if I can find the actual tweet. Platform shoes disclaimer. Sometimes his music just it ends up giving me a strike. Yeah, every single Christian. Let's see. Come on, where is it? It's right around here. It's got to be around here somewhere, Sanchez, right? Hang on. Sanchez also put breaking 16 hours ago. A representative of Flip has reached out and stated that if I send him 5,000, he will send all of the proof I want. I can confirm this is an official representative for Flip. How can we trust his proof? He said, I'm more than willing to give Flip 5,000. Ooh, what's he want the proof of? From the evidence I am now reviewing, Flip appears far more involved than he ever admitted publicly. It looks like he coordinated with someone to obtain the clips. I am offering 5,000 to anyone who could provide proof of collusion between Flip and the owner of the Proton emails. DMs is open. So Sanchez said he got $5,000 to anyone who could provide proof. I reach evidence showing 80 admitting texts that he played the recording for others, including Lindsay, Higgins, and Jeff. My DMs are lighting up, helping fill in key gaps in the timeline. A complete timeline with all the receipts is currently being. Sanchez, getting it done. I didn't realize Sanchez, burning fingers. Sanchez tweets this much. Here it is. Found it. I knew I would find it for y'all. Let me get back on the StreamYard page. Oh, shit. My bad. I thought y'all could see me. Sorry. Let me get this down. See, it takes time. It takes time, people. I don't have all them famous assistants. All right, right over here, Sanchez says, y'all can see it, right? Sanchez is offering all kind of rewards out there. He said, I will give Kelsey Fitzsimmons $100,000 to not do the interview tomorrow or ever with that guy. Dead serious. Reach out to me. And it says, Natalie Diana 67 says, here's my take. Brado asked Kelsey to do it to get more awareness and possibly more funding for future cases. And Brado can try to focus Aidan on this instead of acting out and making things worse, and instead polish his rep before the next hearing. That's going to be a deal going on. That actually sounds, that don't sound like the worst. It does keep Aidan, kind of drama free again. Kelsey feels she owes Brado a lot. But I'll tell you what, $100,000. How could you not take? How could Turtleboy say not to take that friggin' deal? $100,000. How could he even say not to take a deal like that? Let me put the comments on the screen. My bad. And we got memberships now, so don't forget, hook up a membership, a gift, a membership, super chats. But instead of super chats, I would rather people just buy memberships if it's the same. So like I said, people can basically talk to whoever they want to talk to. But $100,000, I'm definitely not doing the interview. And Sanchez said, for those apparently not paying attention, many of Aidan's closest allies have made it public that they no merited did not release the Karen Reed recordings. I only saw Bradle and Kelsey look like they were in a hostage video. Right? Probably because you never know what that dude Turtle is going to say. But when someone sits across from somebody like Turtleboy, and his entire brand is what? Harassment, humiliation, weaponizing vulnerable people for clicks. You really got to ask yourself, what does that say about that person that's aligning themselves with somebody like Aidan? Because the friend of my enemy is not my friend. The person who willingly walks into that circus tent isn't just a spectator. They're also participating in the Aidan Kearney circus. So it's just a low bar for Kelsey Fitzsimmons. I mean, let's keep it real. If your bar for who you'll sit with is low enough to include Turtleboy, then your bar isn't low. Your bar is friggin' underground. If you're willing, to, talk to somebody like that, what does that say about your bar? So Sanchez has all type of rewards out there. I guess the Kelsey 100,000 is now off the table. There are many horrible people on this platform, Sanchez wrote, but this guy is the top of the list. Wears hats sold in the women's section and threatened to physically assault females online. Yeah, this is the purple Kool-Aid guy. He's definitely like a low of the low. Is this him? Paul? Sounds like his name. Shitchendale? It sounds like a wine cooler. We have he's selling Playboy magazines dating back to 1967. You have every year up to 2000. That's commitment. That's some weirdo commitment shit. Some years are complete, others are missing one or two issues. If there is an issue you're looking at, this is crazy. So the purple Kool-Aid guy, coat check Karen strikes again, you decide. But yeah, back to, it's such a low bar to include Turtleboy. It's just totally underground.
Great looks and charisma, I've got it all. I'm here for the taking. Confident, arrogant, all the above.
Yeah, we're like some shell top Adidas. Got the Adidas outfit going on. Yeah, so Kelsey's sitting down with the turtle. He's definitely not a journalist. You know, he isn't a truth seeker. You know, he isn't somebody that uplifts victims. Justin's family will collect all the things that Fool Turtleboy has said about him and his family and use it against Kelsey and family court. And since she went on that shit show, she's not looking too bright. Yeah, you know, you got a point there. That is Purple's name, huh? Yeah, it's definitely not a good move on on Bradel's part, birds of a feather. I mean, because let's face it, Turtleboy isn't someone who picks up victims, or protects vulnerable people. I mean, he don't protect anybody. This is a guy that attacks families. He mocks trauma, right? He spreads information. He tells a young adult, an older teenager to unalive himself, tells him to live stream it. This guy leaves destruction behind every place he goes, everyone he touches. So when someone chooses that platform, I think it tells you everything you need to know about their judgment. Your boy JFK said, the worst mistake he made was letting Turtleboy onto his panel, and that judgment cost him, and judgment matters. And when you're asking phone, and when you're asking the public, and it gives off an appearance to no major bias, which will not look good. And when you're asking the public to believe you, and I think she's still going to court. Yeah, I would have went with the money. She could have made an easy 100K to do that, Now what? Is another interview worth any money from Kelsey? Oh no. One second. Yeah, is another interview. What is another interview worth? Amen to that. Judgment matters. Praise God. Praise God. If someone's looking for a nice Christian book, my buddy Wes Pennington just finished his third book, and it's a great book about raising men, how to create better men. Because we lost too many fathers, too many fatherless homes, and the name of the book is Keep It Real, by Wes Pennington. I'll get the link. But Wes is a nice guy, writes some great books. He probably leveraged raising money for her with the interview. Well, what the Glare? They said the Glare raised $25,000? No, he shouldn't have. Brado's been proven to be an ethical attorney who's been brought up before the board. And I'm sure, most attorneys are unethical. That's why they're attorneys. So I'm not surprised Brado, went up before the board, but there's a difference between, because desperation, right? It makes people do some crazy shit. And there's a difference between defending yourself, telling your side of the story, right? Running into the arms of the loudest, most toxic voice in the room. And when someone chooses to go to the turtle, what does it mean? They ain't looking for the truth. They're looking for validation. And Turtleboy is always ready to validate anyone who massages his narrative, because he don't care about the truth, right? He cares about his content. He cares about chaos. He cares about, he wants to stay relevant, keep his low numbers, because shout out making changes, appreciate it. Love when I see it in green. Shout out. You read off all the super chats and how much was paid. Aidan made money off Kelsey and only mentioned where to donate to her fund. Absolutely. And now all his stuff's coming up. We're starting to see, a lot of the messages with Karen Reed and Truth and Transparency had a pretty good post today on if I got it. Attorney Brado, in an interview tonight, said he filed a formal complaint, so the JCC will investigate the judge's worst nightmare. This sums it up. I know. How about that judge that held Kelsey without bail? Not interested. 3 horrible, dishonest people. So if you're willing to sit across from that, you're telling the world that you're okay with the collateral damage. And a lot of people, already thought Kelsey was a horrible person going into this. Yes, many people, sided with her. Many people seen, the cute little blonde girl. But let's face it, if she wasn't the cute little blonde girl, would have she got all of the, people siding with her? I mean, I don't believe Officer Noonan's story. It was just too, I just think he panicked and he was like, shit, which don't make him a bad guy. But you are judged by who the company you keep, who you put yourself next to. You're judged by who you platform. Who do you allow on your platform? I can never have someone on my platform that I don't rock with. You know what I mean? Because you know what? That's the company I keep. Who are you going to allow to speak for you? See, Turtleboy got all these people speaking for him. He got Uncle Debbie, He got Will the Glare, all these stand-up people. Jessica Machado, who went on a rant a couple weeks ago talking about black advertisers was targeting her home. Why can't I have white advertisers? I couldn't believe she even said that. So you got people that are co-signing this behavior, whether you mean to or not, by siding with him. That's what you are doing. You want to be next to him. That's an endorsement. An endorsement is character. Got to be careful who you endorse. The friend of my enemy is not my friend. He always hides behind females. 3 in total so far, and he snapped at her. He asked a question and was like, no. Bradle is who I wanted to answer, basically. She just sat and looked pretty. Aidan has spent his online career siding with police in every situation that involves corruption, brutality, and excessive force against black people. He trashed the black victims and their families. Yeah, you see that clip? He played a clip about, a young black boy getting shot by a cop. And I think it might have been shot in the back. And Turtle was really disrespecting that boy, saying his mother was a piece of crap. All this shit, like, you raised a horrible kid, like, shit happens, man. Sometimes in these neighborhoods, some people say, well, he chose to go out there, and have that thing in his hands and go out and do that. Not all the time. Unless you grow up in these inner city neighborhoods, sometimes crime chooses you. You don't have a choice. All right, Dante Wright. Thank you. Now, the victims of corruption are white. Oh, wow. It's a problem. That young boy was Dante Wright. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, that was some horrible, horrible shit. So no, he's definitely the whole clan has racial problems. And I hate to call anybody, I hate even saying the word. I hate to call anybody racist because I don't believe any of us were raised to be racist. The optics already tell you what you need to know. It's called pattern recognition. Absolutely. That's part of cognitive reconstruction, I believe. But if someone chooses to sit with a man that has attacked victims, attacked females, harassed families, all allegedly, right? Lied for profit, and built a cult of chaos, then they're not someone I'm aligning myself with, even if I share a friggin' attorney. Because the friend of my enemy is not my friend. And the person who willingly walks into that environment, they're telling you who they are. They're not there just to watch the circus. They're not even they're a part of the entertainment. Character's not what you say. I think it's more like what you tolerate. If you're telling the world that you're comfortable with destruction, as long as it benefits you, but anytime the destruction comes at you, oh no, everyone else is the bad guy. That's not somebody I trust. that's not somebody I could put myself next to, right? And that's not someone I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to, because of this show right here, we keep it real. We don't sugarcoat it. We're going to give it to you just how it is. Oh, shout out to Mike Crawford up in the chat. What's up, Mike? Action speaks louder than words. What you do. Absolutely. Everyone say what's up to Mike Crawford. And even Mike was a big part of this Free Karen Reed movement. You see, Turtleboy is going to try to take the credit, but he didn't start it. He was just, what people said, let him be the loudest mouth in the room. Let all the shit fall. That's all he was. He was just the loudest mouth. See, all these people, all you people started the Free Karen Reed movement. Money Making Mike. You know what I mean? Brian, Meza, even Betterow coming around, Nurse Kim. Like, there was so many, and I'll even include all the other content. There was so many content creators, big and small. The lawyer, shout out to Nan bringing us so much valuable insight that we ended up learning between Brian's show, the Young Jerks. Mike's not everyone's cup of tea. All right, so be it. But you know what? Mike puts on a great show. And if he is your cup of tea, go check him out. And if he's not, don't watch him. Don't laugh at him. Don't talk shit about him. People want to make jokes about Mike being a man and showing emotions. But we seen Turtleboy screaming on the floor over 60 days when he never even seen another man. He never even seen another person. So there's so many great content creators that led the Free Karen Reed movement. And what I see now in the Free Karen Reed movement is darkness. Because I see that there was a lot of people going at each other. A lot of negativity. Turtleboy was setting everybody up. You had Ray from Dallas that was just being so vile, like a straight up devil. St. Peter had to come and just slash him once. And that's when Jesus says, easy. You'll have your chance to be gangster later. And St. Peter will be back. He's going to be back to wipe out a lot of them people, But yeah, so there's so many great creators in this Free Karen Reed movement. And some people went on to do other cases, Kelsey came along, but lining herself up with Turtleboy, I don't know if that was the smartest idea. I don't know if it was a very good idea, and that kind of leads me into the next topic. How does Turtleboy still have a platform on YouTube? You know what I mean? Because if we be clear, not rumors, not exaggerations, but the documented behavior that people have seen online for years. He told a teenager to harm himself. He threatened to go after people's families if they sue him. Mocking domestic violence, claiming to stand with a disease that affects all of us, like cancer, while attacking cancer patients. Can I go on? Harassing victims, harassing parents, harassing private citizens, turning every case into a friggin' personal vendetta. Give me a minute. We're going to get into that. We'll definitely stand by.
Yo, let's keep it real. It's a turtle tale. No detail too small. Yeah.
Yo, listen up, I got a story to tell about the strong women who raised me well. Yo, I grew up in a house full of queens. Strong women teaching me to chase my dreams. Saw my mom grind, juggling, working home. Taught me respect, made me feel less alone. While you flex your muscles, thinking that's power. I learned true strength in the toughest hour. You swing fists, you think that makes you a man, but real warriors protect, they don't need a hand.
Yeah, it's respect over aggression, that's the game we play. Real strength comes from the heart, it ain't just a display. For every queen that raised me, I honor they fight. In a world full of chaos, I'm just seeking the light.
My grandmother's wisdom, it echoes in my soul. Treat women with respect, that's how you roll. You think aggression's a sign of your might, but a real man knows how to stand up and fight. For those who can't, for those who are weak. Instead of throwing punches, have a heart when you speak.
Yeah, it's respect over aggression, that's the game we play. Real strength comes from the heart, it ain't just a display. For every queen that raised me, I honor they fight. In a world full of chaos, I'm just seeking the light.
You're a king now, you ain't got the throne. Real kings uplift, they're not out here alone. In a world where ego rules, I stay grounded and true. Building up my circle like my mother's taught me to do. So listen close, this isn't just art. It's a testament of strength, straight from the heart. I'm a product of queens, respect in my veins. Let the legacy live on through joys and the pains.
Yeah, it's respect over aggression, that's the game we play. Real strength comes from the heart, it ain't just a display. For every queen that raised me, I honor their fight. In a world full of chaos, I'm just seeking the light.
All right, we back. But yeah, so, the whole thing with Kelsey going on the show, I mean, respect to her. I can't wait until she gets custody of her baby again, but I just think that was just a bad look, and on this show, we're going to keep it real, right? We ain't come in here trying to get no friends. Just the supporters, but how does this guy still have a platform? How does he still have a platform? Like I said earlier, the whole thing about what he said to the teenager, harm yourself, threatening to go after people's families if they sue him, claiming that, he stands with cancer. I mean, that's just the most horrible thing. Harassing victims, and he turns everyone he touches into a personal vendetta. That is not journalism at all. It's just straight harm, plain and simple. So the real question a lot of people say, why is he still allowed to post? Why is he still monetized, right? Why is he still reaching people? I don't know if he is monetized. I think that's why he may get the turtle chats. And I don't know how many people he's reaching. I don't believe he's reaching the numbers he's getting. I showed you the other day at some of his numbers, his subs are bought. He does have a lot of insecure supporters. You know, he buys subs. But platforms like this one, right? YouTube don't operate on morality, right? They operate on metrics. They operate on numbers, views, clicks, watch time. You know, how long somebody stays engaged. The algorithm. That's what they care about. You know, the algorithm don't care about why people are watching. They only care that you are watching. You know, so someone who stirs up drama, attacks people, create conflict, keeps the viewers emotionally charged, they're very profitable. But after a while, they take your monetization, which I'm sure they probably did again. Is it not ethical, not responsible? All of them, but profitable, right? And a lot of these platforms move slowly, painfully slow, especially when the person's causing harm and he's generating traffic. Because let's face it, right? People like Turtleboy, they survive online because they know how to dance right up to that line. I mean, he steps over it. You know, but he don't step on it where it triggers immediate removal. You know, of course, opinions instead of statements. You know, you want to, you know, this is my opinion. Questions instead of accusations. You know, try to use parody instead of harassment. You know, I mean, he'll try to toe that line. You know, and some of these platforms, they struggle to moderate that because it's not always a clean violation. So they really don't know what to do. You know, but the behavior that makes sense. But the algorithm don't zoom out, right? They look at individual videos. They don't look at the harm that the video's doing, and that's how he ends up staying up with all this. Oh, and the audience. I mean, let's keep it real. Platforms don't protect creators. They're protecting the engagement. They're protecting the audience base. You know, they're protecting the base. So as long as there's an audience willing to cheer him on, share his content, defend his ridiculous behavior, and attack anybody this dude targets, well, the platform sees activity and not harm. If you're over there watching on Twitter, man, come on over to YouTube, subscribe. You know, really appreciate it. You know, it don't cost you nothing to do that. It's only a click away. You know, can we keep it real? You know, this is why that nice word they use. What is it? The grifter. This is why grifters thrive. I like hustler, but grifter, right? This is why harassment is becoming entertainment. You know, cruelty becomes content. Not too cruel, but the audience rewards it, right? And the platforms follow the audience. You know, you make money from the super chats, you know, because when you're playing other people's content and stuff, you know, YouTube's not going to give you the monetization. So the only money you depend on are them super chats, are the memberships, are the, you know, the Venmo donations, the Cash App donations. That's the money that you depend on that keeps you doing this. And while YouTube counts the views, real people end up paying the price. People that have been attacked. Look how many times Meredith has been attacked over and over. Oh yeah, I kind of like they allowed him to name himself Jesus. It was over. Absolutely. You know? But yeah, real people are paying the price. And there's no age on that. Teenagers, parents, victims, family, people who never asked to be dragged into the spotlight. Because the Lisa lady sided with Alex, he started reading personal messages. Like all you people that have all these personal messages with this dude, nothing sacred. Because when he can't use you anymore, he's going to read off your shit. Someone should read him the personal messages when he was a soccer coach. Tell him to read them messages and why he had to resign. See, people get re-traumatized for someone else's content cycle. And that's the part of the platform that just you don't measure. Because there's no metrics for that bullshit. There's no metrics for emotional damage, for the harm that he's doing, the fear, the humiliation that he does to people. The online harassment, so the harm just continues and continues, right? So how does he still have a platform? Because these platforms reward this stuff. They reward controversy. They reward conflict. They reward chaos. They reward content that just keeps people watching, right? And, Turtleboy knows how to bullshit all four of them. Because he's not talented. That ain't why. He's definitely not insightful. Maybe he's willing to cross lines that a lot of people wouldn't even approach. And platforms don't remove people for being offensive, right? They remove people for violating specific, narrow rules. And Turtleboy survives by staying inside them lines while causing maximum damage outside of them. Like I said, maybe I'm the crazy one. He's ruining free speech. God forbid someone actually gets hurt from his antics. Then the laws change to affect our free speech. People don't see that coming. Oh, it's coming. Let's keep it real. Back in the day, the hustle still had nobility and honor to it. You were getting in where you fit in, making that money. Grift is what Aidan, Tennessee Willie is doing. No cap. That's a fact. That is a fact right there. It's disturbing that somebody, that does threaten families can go live. No, I don't ever think he was a genuine. He would copy and paste things, but he would always, the kind uncle, he would always go after people. Really, that's all he did is he attacked people. He attacked people, the negative, he just, I don't think he was ever a reporter, ever. You know, but it's disturbing. Someone that gets away with it, that threatens families, can still hit the go live button. You know, but why do platforms allow it? And why do people keep watching it? Because until those two things change, the grifters will keep grifting, and the bullies will keep bullying. And the platforms, well, they'll keep counting views. But on this show, we ain't gonna reward that shit, right? We gonna call that shit out. We gonna expose that shit, and we gonna keep it real. You know what I mean? That's what we going to do over here. You know? That's what we going to do. You know, we just gonna keep it real. You know, I had a couple of I was watching the Runko talk to the lawyer, you know, and they were talking about Officer Noonan's testimony. Where is it? They were talking about Noonan's testimony and how it just didn't sound believable. And he said it just didn't sound believable. My bad, people. I was looking for something. Let's listen to some of this audio.
All I came up here to do is to fucking be with you and maybe fucking have any indication of fucking kissing it. Nope.
Kissing me. You came up here
person.
to yell at me.
Came up here to yell at you. You're a fucking terrible. You're yell at you.
Thank you. You did come up here to yell at me. That's exactly what you came here to do.
Sure. Can you put the light on, please, so I can get the fuck out of here?
You fell over in the bathtub. You fell over up the stairs, and you're embarrassed. And I called you out on it because I just want you to go to bed and wake up in the morning and go to your training. But all you want to do is insult me. So thank you. That's like super fucking nice. I'm sitting here rocking our baby, and you say,
Kelsey, shut the fuck up.
Okay. Still have our little baby in my arms.
Yep.
But
no, you're right. That was the first time of me yelling, but only the 10th or 12th time of you doing that.
No, this is not the first time of you yelling.
And she probably wants to keep the baby in her hands for protection.
I am out of here. I'm not doing this. I'm leaving. Please put the light on that you just had.
You're leaving after I just got you to maybe lay down and be able to go to your training.
Good for you.
like not be drunk and go to your
that's
training?
fine.
You'll what? Like, I don't understand.
Can you put this on, please?
What on, dude? Like, what is going on? It is the middle of the night. You're fucking freaking out. I don't get this. I do not get this at all. You fell in the shower. You slammed your head. You fell in the living room. You slammed your head. You came up here. You started freaking the fuck out, saying you're all done. You want to go home. Like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, what are you doing? What is the point in all of this? What are you doing?
Thank you very much, Kelsey. You have said a lot, and you have been very, very helpful.
I've said little to nothing. All I've said is I want you to lay down and go to bed so you can go to your training in the morning and not have an issue.
You know what? You are fucking brutal.
Okay. I'm fucking brutal because I want you to lay down, go to bed, relax, go to your training in the morning, and be normal.
Yep.
Right?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know if like you're like pretending to agree with me or.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Please don't fall down the stairs. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ. I'm so fucking nervous right now. I'm so fucking nervous right now.
Taken from Kelsey is now available to members. Visit.
And then I got more. This judge was like ridiculous. You know, we're gonna share this under fair use. You know, shout out to Microdots. Go over there and check it out on his page.
Weeks recovering from a collapsed lung, Kelsey was finally released from the hospital. But
for immediate release from this grant order. So I'll hear from the moving party.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Judge, this is an issue that causes Ms. Fitzsimmons a lot of pain, and I don't want to conflate her being able to pass the test because she's been passing them, but she has about 4 hours of pain and dizziness afterwards. And you know, I don't think anyone, and I know the court would share my thought that this shouldn't be a torture device for her. This shouldn't be something that causes her pain, impairs her rib healing, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we're not trying to get any sort of advantage over anything. We just want her to not be in pain for hours after these tests, and B, you know, we just want her to not have the anxiety that if she has a difficulty doing it, that she's going to get a knock on the door and get locked up. You have Mr. January's email regarding his own observations about what happened.
Mr. January is Kelsey's probation officer who...
Mr. January, he went through it too.
Okay, so you're asking the court to adjust the court's order that's been in effect for 3 days with no medical evidence to support your claim that she cannot do it.
Well, I think you have 2 affidavits and the email from probation. I think that's pretty persuasive evidence that this is extremely difficult.
The email from probation is not evidence. If you have any evidence, now is your opportunity to submit it.
I don't understand the court's position. That's not evidence.
Okay, it's an email. It's hearsay. Commonwealth, do you have a position as to the submissions of an email as evidence in this hearing to relieve the defendant, Ms. Fitzsimmons, of a condition that's been in effect for 3 days?
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but we have the person who sent that email here.
Okay. So you have a burden, it's your motion. What do you want to do?
Well, Judge, I don't think that is the court saying that papers and emails and affidavits are not sufficient?
This is an email from a probation officer. The court gives that 0 weight.
The judge's determination that the email was not evidence would later become a central factor in her removal from the case. You can hear in attorney Tim Bradl's response that he's caught off guard by
How do you give an email from a probation officer 0 weight when, like, probation officers all the time send emails about, what's going on and stuff?
Ribs, and that she's suffering from broken ribs at this time.
Well, you have an affidavit from her mother, you have an affidavit from Ms. Fitzsimmons, and the other day we were here, I submitted I believe I submitted the instructions from Mass General about broken ribs.
Okay.
She's having great difficulty here. It's been observed by probation, it's been attested to by her mother, and it's been attested to by Ms. Fitzsimmons. So it's just a very difficult scenario for her.
The defense's request is not unreasonable.
I mean, what a witch, huh? I mean, there's other ways that you can do a drug test.
As needed to complete the test. So we also know that, and I observed it firsthand, that whatever the injuries are, which I don't know, actually doesn't really matter to me. But when I was doing the installation process and observed what was genuine pain, like genuine pain. So
Any objection to any of the terms used by the probation officer? Okay.
So
McCarthy Neyman invites the prosecutor to object, but
she wanted him to object.
If she had missed the test, and then that would determine whether or not there's actual non-compliance. This particular case, I don't deem non-compliance because she's complying with the scheduled program. I'm aware of pain based on my observations from the installation process. So as long as she's attempting to take the test, continues to attempt to take the test, and then ultimately takes the test, that's not non-compliance. That's someone that's,
well, that's your position that's non-compliant.
Well,
it's really up to the court to decide whether somebody's compliant or not with conditions of release.
It would never be brought to court by way of a pretrial violation for an incomplete test with the information that I've talked about. So no, an incomplete test does not initiate a pretrial violation or from our end,
right,
because there are many reasons for a test to be incomplete. That's not intentional non-compliance. And the goal is to test to ensure that the person's sober, and that's we don't deem that non-compliance. That we never have, and we never would in this case.
Mr. January deserves recognition here.
Judge, I would just offer, I respect and I heard Your Honor's take on the probation email, but for the record, I would move that into evidence as well. And I just want to also...
Commonwealth, do you have a position as to the admission of the email?
Well, I think we just heard what the email.
All right, so the email is excluded. Anything else, Attorney Brown?
No, my objection, Your Honor.
Sure.
Judge, I just want to clarify something. My email, and I know but it's important that the court knows, I didn't make a recommendation that Scram condition be vacated. I never did that. I never suggested, it's all that email was.
Attorney, Officer January, nobody's asking you questions. Your testimony is complete. Are you asking to make a statement to the court sua sponte?
If the court's under the belief that I recommended that condition be vacated or removed, then yeah.
I haven't said anything one way or the other, sir. We're here for one purpose.
I mean, you didn't have to, kind of like my wife says to me when I say, I didn't say that shit. You didn't have to.
One purpose
Okay.
only, and that's
Thank
for the motion to vacate the scram device. So Ms. Fitzsimmons is able to do the scram, is that correct? Or is she not able to do it? I don't know. Is she not able to do it?
I think, that depends on whether the court is willing to tolerate that the material represented in the
The court
affidavit.
is not tolerating anything, okay? Let's be clear. I'm not.
She's a witch. She reminds me of Maureen McKenna Goldberg. The Tone Lady. It's out there.
Not tolerating anything. The court is not tolerating anything. Ms. Fitzsimmons is a defendant. In lieu of incarceration, my order was that she submit to scram. If she cannot do that, I need to know that. Can she do that or not?
She can do it.
Okay.
Under the terms that are laid out in the affidavit.
So you're saying she can do it on her own terms?
With significant pain and dizziness and having to recover for several hours.
I understand what you're saying. It is certainly not the court's intention. It's not the court's position to have Ms. Fitzsimmons in any pain at all. So I appreciate your argument. Do you have anything else to add?
I would suggest, Judge, that I think there's other ways to do this. If the court wishes to have her tested for alcohol lack of alcohol, that's completely fine with the defense. But just the means that's being employed is kind of a torture device for her.
And that's not unreasonable, right? She got broken ribs, she got shot in the chest, saying it's hard for her to blow into a device. Like, there's other means that you could be tested. And this is what happens when you give somebody too much power.
Okay.
And so we object on due process grounds to that.
Oh, okay.
But
it is not this court's intention
I understand
to torture Ms. Fitzsimmons at all. The court's goal is to make sure the community is safe and Officer Noonan is safe. So I hear you loud and clear that the defense views Ms. Fitzsimmons having to do the scram as cruel and unusual and torture. Is that your position?
Well, that's an Eighth Amendment position. I suppose that can be put in there as well. But Judge, I think that, there's probably other alternatives that she could do that I believe are out there. But I know that might step on the court's other order for house arrest, that you would have to go to a facility. I know there's like urine tests and other things like that. So I know there's other possibilities out there that, again, she's not trying to use this to create a situation where she can go drink alcohol.
Okay.
That's not at all what this is about. So I just want to ask the court to consider any other alternatives that might not pose this type of an issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney Gubitosi or Attorney Moriarty, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, I'm going to leave the bench for a few minutes. I'll break.
The judge leaves momentarily to consider the request.
Court, all right. Goes back in session, is it?
Your Honor, we're back on the record with the Fitzsimmons matter.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So I have reviewed everything again that's been submitted to me. And I will state for the record that Fitzsimmons has moved twice in a 3-day period to amend her conditions of release. Just days ago, the court concluded that the condition of remaining alcohol-free and submitting to scram monitoring was necessary to ensure the safety of the community. After a thorough review of all of the arguments and submissions by the Commonwealth and Fitzsimmons, that conclusion remains unchanged, regardless of Fitzsimmons' claimed physical limitations. Based on an affidavit submitted by Fitzsimmons' mother, the testimony of Assistant Chief Probation Officer Jeff January, about his observations of Fitzsimmons' apparent pain during the scram installation, and the representations of Fitzsimmons' counsel that it would be cruel and unusual punishment and torture to continue to require Fitzsimmons to comply with the condition of being monitored by scram, the court concludes that Fitzsimmons cannot abide by the condition of being monitored by scram. Without this condition, which ensures that she does not consume any alcohol, the court cannot assure the safety of Officer Noonan and all other persons in the community. Accordingly, the court's prior order of release is vacated, and Fitzsimmons is ordered to be held without bail pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 276, Section 58A. And a
Your Honor,
written
may I
order will follow.
address the question?
That's the court's order. Thank you.
All right, Jack, I ask you to stay your order pending.
That was some foul ass shit. Yeah, Bradles probably should have had her medical records ready, but that was some foul ass shit. You know, and that's why that judge got probably her ass reamed out. You know, I just can't believe that,
Yes, JC. And there are other.
I can't believe that she would do some shit like that. You know, just totally out of line.
Alternatives, Your Honor, can accomplish.
You could hear her crying in the background as they're handcuffing her. She looks like a mean bitch, doesn't she?
Kelsey was ordered back to jail. The next day, Judge McCarthy Neyman filed a formal complaint against the probation officer, accusing him of colluding with the defense to manipulate the court. The defense cited this as proof that she wasn't just making a legal ruling, but was actively working against the defendant.
Damn. Crazy. Crazy that a judge would do that just to lock her back up. You know, there was other types of there was definitely other types of drug testing that she could have definitely done. Yeah, that was some foul shit right there. Let's see. You got Masshole Mafia that's going after Kelsey Fitzsimmons as well, digging up a lot of her past. You know, she don't like her too much, probably because Turtleboy's siding with her. The judge has a face for radio. The judge is rotten. She should be Turtleboy's judge. Oh my goodness, imagine that shit. Oh, he wouldn't be too happy. He definitely wouldn't be too friggin' happy about that. You know, no, he wouldn't. So now we got, you know, we got the custody fight, you know, another civil suit with Kelsey, and I'm curious about the federal crimes. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what that even means. Bradles said at the end of that court hearing, you know, before we do that, because I'm going to end up breaking this up into another.
We don't do no talking, we know what they do for the views. If I took a loss, no, I got it all back. They just wanna talk, so we gonna talk facts. Got it out the mud, got it out the mud. Really on the blood, really on the blood. Yeah, they know it's all, yeah, they know it's all.
There we are. Did Justin allegedly commit federal crimes? You know, we heard Brado talk about that there was federal crimes. You know, what does that even mean? You know, today we're going to talk about that question that's been floating around Kelsey Fitzsimmons. You know, we talked about, you know, what does that mean for her being on the Turtleboy case? We listened to some of the some audio, but let's break it down. Can we explain it? You know, did Justin commit federal crimes by withdrawing money from Kelsey's account? And I think Microdots actually played, that was in one of Microdots' clips. Let me see if I can, Microdots. The Kelsey Fitzsimmons story and debt.
Maybe fucking have any indication of fucking kissing it. Nope.
Kissing me. You
such
came
a
up
bad
here
person.
to yell at me.
You came up here to yell at you. You're a
The
fucking
audio
terrible.
followed off
You're
incisive
yell at you.
Just
Thank
forget
you.
it always
You
record.
did come out here to yell at me. That's
No.
exactly what you
Yeah.
came here to do.
Sure. Can you put the light on, please, so I can get the fuck out of here?
You fell over in the bathtub. You fell over up the stairs, and you're embarrassed. And I called you out on it because I just want you to go to bed and wake up in the morning and go to your training. But all you want to do is insult me. So thank you. That's like super fucking nice. I'm sitting here rocking our baby, and you say,
Kelsey,
"Oh,
shut the fuck up."
okay." Still have our little baby in my arms.
Yep.
But
No,
okay.
you're right. That was the first time of me yelling, but only the 10th or 12th time of you doing that.
No, this is not the first time of
Please
you
put the light on?
yelling.
'Cause I am out of here. I'm not doing this. I'm leaving. Please put the light on that you just had.
You're leaving after I just got you to maybe lay down and be able to go to your training.
Good for you.
Like not be drunk and go to your training.
Fine.
You'll what? Like I don't understand.
Can you put this on, please?
What on, dude? Like what is going on? It is the middle of the night. You're fucking freaking out. I don't get this. I do not get this at all. You fell in the shower, you slammed your head. You fell in the living room, you slammed your head. You came up here, you start freaking the fuck out, saying you're all done, you want to go home. Like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, what are you doing? What is the point in all of this? What are you doing?
Thank you very much, Kelsey. You have said a lot, and you have been very, very helpful.
I've said little to nothing. All I've said is I want you to lay down and go to bed so you can go to your training in the morning and not have an issue.
You know what? You are fucking brutal.
Okay. I'm fucking brutal because I want you to lay down, go to bed, relax, go to your training in the morning, and be normal.
Yep.
Right?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know if like you're like pretending to agree with me or.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Please don't fall down the stairs. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ.
And don't forget to give someone a membership, you know, be really appreciated.
I'm so fucking nervous right now. I'm so fucking nervous right now.
threat,
Ashley, stop!
meaning the next time they meet, Kelsey will be attacked.
Calm down, Ashley.
This causes Kelsey to leave. She asks her brother to drive her home and calls her mother back in Massachusetts, requesting for her to pick up the baby from Justin's parents' house. She agrees, and they all meet back at Kelsey's home very early in the morning. The preparations required for her to go back on active duty.
Perfect, you got it.
She completes the training session. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. Although
through the police department, no, we don't have that ability.
She waited a while for him to show up, then went for the walk without him. At that very same moment, Justin was making a phone call.
Hey, this is Justin again. I'm just calling Lieutenant Whitaker back. I just missed this call, unfortunately.
Yeah, Justin, it's me.
Oh, okay. How you doing, sir? I had a couple quick questions for you again.
Yeah.
So she's messaging me, telling me that she's planning on taking the baby up to the land in New Hampshire. Do I have any rights to make sure that she does not leave with that child?
Hell no.
At this point, I don't think we do. I've spoken to my superior.
Yeah.
Filled him in on everything that we talked about, and we don't really have the right to deny her child.
Do I have any rights as the father to obtain my child since she's had him for several nights now? Do I have any right to, hey, this is the custody, we're both parents here. It's almost my turn to have the kid for the night, so I can know that he's safe and I can go file these after?
He says, so when I got the kid, then I could file.
The police department, no, we don't have that ability. The only way that you would be able to do that if you spoke directly to her and said, I'd like some.
I don't think the police department had her back. I don't think they even didn't even want her there because they were all willing to keep that secret from her. Not like departments that I know. They're going to let you know. Someone's going to come down and be like, yo, listen, this is going on. Somebody's going to tell you.
Time with the baby. And if she agrees to that, great. But it sounds like she's
not
probably not going to be. Yeah.
I have my sister who's
Hey
had a
there.
quick question for you as well.
I've seen a lot of it. And so I'm on the page. We need to get the baby out of her hands like now, or something really bad could happen. And I know you guys have talked a bit about this, but I am just wondering, is there any difference if she were to try to take the baby out of the state? Does that go against anything? Because that's what she's threatening with. Does the state matter at all? The state lines?
It really doesn't. It's her child.
It doesn't.
Okay. Yeah.
One other question for you, because I think, we're talking about going to the courthouse. How do we, and especially because she is a police officer in this town and everyone talks, and I'm just wondering, if we go file this, how do we, because if she finds out that this is filed before it's being addressed, it's going to end really horribly. So how do we actually ensure, and I guess, do you know anything about that process? Would a police officer come with us or with Justin to the house to get the baby? If this is assuming the custody was ordered, that the restraining order and the custody were ordered, what does that look like? Because we're very worried she'd find out before it could actually take place.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then the way, if an order is granted, they will then email a copy of the order to us for service. So we would serve it and then enforce it. So it would be like, here's your restraining order. Per the order, custody of the child is awarded to Justin, in which case we would have to make arrangements, for him to come take the child.
Okay, so he would not be there when you're presenting that. I mean, this might be an obvious question, I guess, because if he has the restraining order, he shouldn't be there.
Probably
correct,
not.
guys-
I mean, we should probably take care of that. It's okay if he wants to be close by, in order to take custody of the child quickly.
Yeah, right.
He could come if he's in town. We could then reach out to him and say, okay, she's been served. you can
Yeah.
come pick up
Right,
the child.
Adriel went to the recording studio,
Okay,
right?
just to, I guess, make sure,
Yeah,
because I know you guys have been notified if there is an emergency
Everything
order
they had
put
going
through.
on.
Like, I mean, she's an officer, of course. What does she have access to see? I'm just like, is there a way to flag this directly to, you know, the trusted?
No, when it
I don't
gets
know,
sent,
friend?
it gets sent to the officer in charge. So
Okay.
nobody sees that except the officer in
Okay.
charge and anyone else who has access to that email, which she does not.
Okay, so that's reassuring. So I'm just trying to make sure there's no chance she could find out before this happens.
Did she
They
catch
don't like
wind while
Kelsey,
she was
I'm
at the
thinking.
police station of anything occurring? Like,
Nope.
no, okay.
Nope. I didn't want to tip her off
Get some
and give her
membership,
the opportunity
give
to do
some
anything rash.
memberships, you know, appreciate
Okay,
that.
thank you. All right, officer, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Your way to support.
Bye-bye.
The past few days had been an emotional roller coaster. First, the blowout up in Maine. Then Justin came to take his firearms out of the house. She was still recovering from postpartum depression while taking the necessary steps to go back on active duty, all while caring for their infant son, without any help from Justin. She was hopeful when he asked her to meet. Now he was ghosting her, not answering any of her calls or text messages. Lieutenant Daly, Officer Noonan, and Officer Houston arrived to serve Kelsey the...
Noonan comes with his gloves on, comes prepared. I think Noonan just panicked. I believe Kelsey's story that she was trying to, you know, put it to her own head. And maybe when she took it down, like Brado said, you know, tap and rack, it takes time to say it. And you got to really pull that slide back with some force. And I don't know, Kelsey don't look like she's very, very strong. I just think Noonan was just trying to say, oh shit, I screwed up.
Restraining order, including the removal of all firearms from the residence and to obtain custody of the baby. For unknown reasons, they made the decision not to bring with them a family services caseworker, mental health clinician, or crisis intervention.
You only got a female, you're about to take her baby. You're about to tell her that instead of her fiance meeting her at the park, he was filing a restraining order behind her back. Everything's falling apart. You're going to take her weapons.
Specialist. And this situation certainly qualifies as a crisis. They're going to take a 4-month-old baby away from his mother, who had been suffering from postpartum depression, which Justin had warned them about ahead of time. There were at least 3 trained mental health officers on the force, but none of them came on this call.
I opened the door and Lieutenant Daly immediately put his foot on my front porch and we didn't just come in, and I was like, okay, all right.
She had absolutely no reason to expect the police. Just hours earlier, Justin told her he wanted to talk and work things out. Their sudden presence would have made no sense to her. Patrick Noonan. He is the officer who will shoot.
Oh, already gloves on. He's ready to work.
Kelsey, with the black gloves he's already wearing. His actions will become the central point of contention in the case. His conduct, his story, and the circumstances under which he uses deadly force all come into question. With the baby in her arms, Kelsey leads the 3 men into the living room.
Like me for this.
Lieutenant Daly asked me to put Caden down in his car seat. I was in the middle of feeding him, so
Yeah,
when I put him down, he was obviously crying, and I was like, whatever this is, I'm going to hold my son. That's when Lieutenant Daly said, Justin filed a restraining order against you. He said that Caden was on it as well, and...
Did that affect your state of mind?
Yes.
How so?
I knew in that moment I was going to have to hand my 4-month-old to a police officer. As I was packing things, I was like, okay, Justin just broke up with me via restraining order. We have a wedding in 4 months. Caden is not going to be with me for 2 weeks. That's an eternity for a mom.
But right now, it didn't really matter. The order was in motion. Nothing was going to stop it. To Kelsey, this was the most devastating scenario imaginable. This entire ordeal rested only on Justin's word. Now there's 3 men with guns in her living room, taking her baby away. Only 3 minutes after they arrive, Lieutenant Daly calls Justin to let him know he should come. What she was experiencing must have felt like a waking nightmare. And to step in, someone to calm Kelsey, offering...
Bailey, this lieutenant knows he's over his head.
To step in, someone to calm Kelsey, offering reassurance that the order was temporary and that legal avenues existed to contest it. The lieutenant seems to already sense that this is not going well.
Oh, he's like, oh, fuck.
I was asked to pack a bag for Caden for about 2 weeks.
Officer Houston and Officer Noonan escort Kelsey around the home to pack supplies.
Did you say anything to the officers about the location of your firearms?
Yes, I did.
What'd you say?
I told them that they were in the basement.
Was that true?
No,
Why did you tell them?
because I didn't want them to take them away.
Why not?
Because I wanted to be alone with my firearm and take my life.
When did you make that decision?
I made that decision as I realized I had just lost everything in a 15-second conversation with my coworker.
Ain't there's your coworker.
Where were your firearms?
Kelsey goes upstairs with the 2 officers to gather clothes for the boy. The second floor of 125 Phillips Brooks Road is a tight space, with low vaulted ceilings. On the left side is the baby's room. Directly across the hall is the master bedroom. This is where, in a few minutes from now, Kelsey will be shot in the chest. The officers become aware that someone is arriving. Officer Houston goes down,
I have no idea.
leaving Officer Noonan and Kelsey alone in the master bedroom. Her mother rushes to the house. This will turn out to be the worst day of her life. She walks past the cruisers parked outside as she hustles to the door. And then, immediately confronted with a jarring image, an armed officer standing there with her grandson in his arms. You can see that she is genuinely perplexed. The 3 officers are out of their depth. What should have been controlled and methodical is quickly turning chaotic. Kelsey's mother is allowed to hold the baby, but only momentarily. Justin and his sister arrive approximately 45 seconds after Kelsey's mother. The police made a critical miscalculation by allowing him inside the house. Officers were there to serve Kelsey with a restraining order on Justin's behalf. Tensions were already high. But Kelsey doesn't know they're there. Only 90 seconds after they arrive, his sister removes the baby from the home. Justin follows, carrying supplies to his car, but he's not leaving just yet. Justin returns. He requests to re-enter the home to retrieve more items. The officer grants permission and allows him in. He proceeds to the basement, where most of his property is stored. At this time, what Kelsey states happened is that she was folding clothes in her bedroom. She asked Officer Noonan to carry belongings downstairs for her. She wanted to be alone in her room.
What was your state of mind about whether or not you wanted to involve any police officers in that?
I didn't want to involve anybody. I was trying to get everybody away from me.
When you went to go get that firearm, was there anyone in your view in that landing?
No. I grabbed the gun, took 2 steps backwards, but I put the gun up to my head.
When Noonan appears again, she's already holding it to the side of her head. She pulls the trigger, but the gun only clicks. Noonan draws. He panics. Then he shouts.
Kelsey, no! Kelsey, no!
He fires 1 round and misses what should have been an easy point-blank shot. Then fires a second round, hitting Kelsey in the center right side of her chest.
Can you tell us what you heard?
It was Kelsey, no, bang, bang.
Dispatch, 998, 998. Dispatch, 998, 998. 1 person down, GSW to the chest. We need a 1052 code 3. Stop fire, stop fire. Copy unit 4, 998 at 125 Phillips Brooks. Why is not looking good? Get an ambulance here now.
It's the same one that breaks in the house with Justin the following day. There's a stretcher. Now, look, I talked about body camera earlier, you know, and I'll go into that. 433 law enforcement agencies in Massachusetts, right? 190 of them applied from like 2021 till now, applied for grants. That's less than 50%. Doing my research, the police don't want body cams. They don't want Big Brother watching them. The unions objected to body cams. They said it would cost like $1,000 to $3,000 a year per officer to have body cams, the cloud, all that stuff. But thank God that Kelsey's father had all this great surveillance, because we would have missed all this audio. We would have missed all of this shit. Because towns don't want to pay. The police don't want Big Brother watching them. It's the officers that don't want the body cams.
Stay with us, Kelsey.
Officer Noonan watches as they wheel Kelsey away.
They got cameras everywhere.
He's just discharged his weapon twice, at close range. Once into her air conditioner. And once into...
A SWAT team member. He hit the air condition.
Her chest. Although the shooting has stopped, he is still...
What, right here. He knows it. Where's your gloves? You took your gloves off, buddy? He knows he's fucked. That's why he's like, fuck, man, I got to come up with a story. That's what he's doing now. He's brainstorming. He's thinking. Damn.
Firmly in the grip of fight or flight.
Oh, shit.
We can presume his bloodstream is flooded with adrenaline. His pulse remains elevated, racing somewhere between 115 to 145 beats per minute. The physical effects are matched by intense psychological shock. The brain replays...
Look at that. What's he thinking right now? He's thinking, shit. I just shot a coworker. I just shot another cop. I just shot somebody. I just shot somebody that was trying to hurt themselves, which is against policy.
The moment he squeezed the trigger, again and again, in brutal clarity. The movement, the sound of the gun, the absolute silence that followed. Every detail loops as the weight of what's just happened comes crashing down. Officer Noonan begins to confront the fact that in all likelihood she will not survive. Soon, investigators will begin asking very serious questions, and he'd better have the right answers. There's no room for ambiguity over his use of force. Lieutenant Daly appears from inside the home. Even without hearing their words, we feel the tone of what's being said. They know this is bad. Daly shrugs his shoulders.
This is where they're trying to get their stories straight. Well, he's like, what are you going to do? You had no choice.
But he shouldn't be surprised. Every step of the way, they made mistakes. Instead of executing the restraining order, somehow they've executed one of their own officers. What they say and do next will determine just how bad this blows back at them.
We're going to take you to the scene earlier tonight and tell you what we do, in fact, know. A North Andover police officer showed up at this home on Phillipsbrook Road at 6:30 this evening to serve a court order, and somehow there was an armed confrontation leading to the officer firing a gun. The person inside the home was taken to the hospital, as we mentioned, with serious injuries. There was a heavy police presence around the home for a few hours. Now that home is situated right next to a school parking lot, and police
Stated that Kelsey was kneeling, folding laundry to pack for the baby. And while he was standing in the doorway, from a kneeling position, she suddenly lunged toward an area behind the door. Then reappearing, with a pistol pointed at his face. He said she pulled the trigger, but no round was fired. She began to stand up. He pulled his firearm out of its holster, claiming that Kelsey was trying to rack the weapon to chamber a round. He shouts several commands to Kelsey.
Drop the gun! Don't do it!
Now he knew for sure she was trying to kill him. He fires one round, but she did not comply, fearing for his life. He fires again.
And really, right? Like lawyers, said that when he goes down, he said that Noonan said that Kelsey flinched. But just because she flinched, that don't mean the threat was done. If she really wanted to get by you to get to Justin, you made it sound so Hollywood. You don't see the gun. So why are you holstering your weapon? Why are you not unloading? Because Kelsey could still be a threat. Go watch The Lawyer and Runkle. That was a great, they kind of nailed it.
Now this is a much more neat and tidy version of events. Instead of attempting to take her own life, she was dead set on killing Noonan. This young mother, who was recovering from depression, decided for no apparent reason to lunge for a gun and shoot her fellow officer, whom she actually liked, at point-blank range, intent on a shootout, a blaze of glory. The same woman who was calm and holding her baby just 11 minutes ago all of a sudden transforms into a stone-cold killer.
She developed some sort of a homicidal animus towards you for what Justin Elaine just did there, right?
I don't think it was, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know Justin was in the house. I think I was standing in her way for her to get downstairs and kill Justin.
The idea that Kelsey would do this is completely absurd, adding in the fact that she believed her own mother and infant were downstairs, and she didn't even know Justin was there. But that is the implication of their unbelievable narrative. That Officer Kelsey Fitzsimmons is capable of mass murder, suggesting she would simply kill everyone, her fiancé, her mother, her baby, and 3 cops she worked with. It just doesn't make sense, and none of it is consistent with postpartum. But let's put that aside and indulge this theory. Why in the world would Kelsey need to lunge for the gun, when she was free to simply take a few steps and pick it up? Noonan wasn't expecting anything because he didn't know it was there. Making a sudden aggressive move would eliminate the element of surprise. It sounds like a detail that was added to explain how she was able to get him at gunpoint. Something investigators would want to know. But it just doesn't fit the situation. Neither scenario would have required for Kelsey to lunge. There's also the issue with his statement, that she lunged to an area behind the door. The problem is, there's never been a door in the master bedroom. We can say this for sure, because Kelsey's father removed it when he renovated the home. The truth is, there's no reason to believe Kelsey was a danger to anyone but herself. Is it not far more plausible that after losing everything, she simply wanted to end her own life? Kelsey would later respond to the allegations. In a letter released by her attorney, Tim Bradel, she states, "I never pointed my firearm at the officer. That officer was not just a colleague, he was my friend. That officer and I experienced a very difficult and sad call for service together last summer. That call for service that day was a true tragedy and caused this officer and I to build a friendship due to experiencing it together. We entered the home and walked into something no human being should ever see, a murder scene with a mother and her infant. As a rookie police officer, this was devastating to me. At the time I was 20 weeks pregnant. The officer that shot me experienced this call with me. To this day, his support during that hard time is something I am still grateful for, regardless of this recent incident that occurred. This traumatic murder call was the catalyst for my mental health complications. As a police officer myself, I would never even think to intentionally hurt another police officer. I see everyone in uniform as my brothers and sisters. I especially would never hurt my friend who has a loving wife and children. I just would never. My firearm was never pointed in any direction other than my temple. When I pulled the trigger, my gun did not fire. However, I immediately got shot in chest by my colleague and friend. I am extremely grateful for 2 things. That God protected me from my attempt of taking my own life, and protected me by millimeters from dying from that gunshot wound to my chest. I will survive and thrive. I know I need to be on this earth for many reasons, but most importantly, my beautiful son. This is my covenant with God and my son. The call Kelsey and Noonan had previously responded to together was truly something that no person should ever see. An unimaginably gruesome scene. In the news report footage, we see them outside the home where it took place. They bonded over the trauma they experienced.
We were on the same shift for a brief time. On one of our shifts, there was a really horrible call.
So we'll get to that, but just generally in terms of your relationship.
That's just like how our relationship kind of even started. That's why I brought it up. That's how we became like texting each other and kind of more than just like, you're just my coworker and I've never talked to you, to we've had conversations and talked about personal things.
So I don't believe for a second that Kelsey pointed her weapon at him, nor pulled the trigger. What makes more sense is that he was
I mean, Kelsey said she raised it towards herself in a moment, of shock or crisis, right? Noonan said she pointed it at him, forcing him to fire. Two people, two versions, one split second, right? But when Noonan took the stand, something happened. The seasoned courtroom watchers noticed right away, I think. The details didn't land. He just didn't talk like he was certain. The door lunging, the angle, the timing, it just felt like a movie. They're more factual, and when the story sounds like a scene out of, Expendables 2, instead of a memory, because no one's memory is 100% perfect. And his was, the left leg took a right, it pivoted. It just didn't make sense. Kelsey, don't do it. Drop the gun. No, Kelsey, no. Just shit like that.
caught off guard, panicked, and took the only action available to him in the moment. To prevent her from harming herself. The problem is, he could never admit that, especially when it was unclear if she would leave the hospital alive. Because doing so
He's like, no, Kelsey, drop the gun. No, Kelsey, no, whatever it was. And even if she did rap and tap, like Brado said, rap and tap, it takes time to even say that.
would place 100% of the liability on himself and the department. He is well aware that shooting people in an effort to prevent them from hurting themselves is not in the handbook.
Last evening, shortly after 6 p.m., 3 North Andover police officers went to 125 Phillips Brook Road. The purpose of going there was to serve a court-approved restraining order. The subject of the restraining order was 28-year-old Kelsey.
I mean, really, the language you use when someone is about to harm themselves, not somebody else, not someone that's about to shoot you. Kelsey, don't do it. No, you were to unload it. You had your gloves on, bro. You were ready. In that one sentence, that's one reaction that created a crack in his narrative that never fully sealed. Words spoken in the heat of the moment often reveal more truth, really, than when he's trying to polish it up.
Fitzsimmons. Ms. Fitzsimmons was an off-duty North Andover police officer. 3 North Andover police officers were on the scene, one of whom was a supervisor. When one of the officers was escorting Ms. Fitzsimmons during the service of the court order, an armed confrontation took place. One of the responding officers discharged their weapon, which struck Ms. Fitzsimmons once. She was immediately given medical care. She was med-flighted to a Boston hospital. And as of this morning, we're told she is in stable condition.
Is there any body camera footage of what happened?
We're actually looking to see what camera footage is available. I have not seen any, and I don't have any reports on any.
Do North Andover police officers typically have body cameras?
No, the North Andover Police Department does not use body cameras at this time.
Can you speak at all to her mental health?
I'm not comfortable speaking on that at this time.
Chief, she was a member of the department. Did she know the officers who were coming to her home? Did everyone know each other?
I would assume so, yes.
We've already met this morning. As of right now, I can't tell you what those charges will be, except to say that our senior trial team will be working with the detectives, and to the extent that charges will come forward, they will fit what took place here.
Justin?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm told that
They couldn't wait to charge her. He said charges will come forward. Let's hear what let's hear what Bitch Boy had to say. Because as of right now, you know, how can Justin be anything else but a bitch boy? Like, who testifies on their baby's mother?
the plan is if anybody does show up to give us a call, we'll be there immediately. We're very limited today on staff, but if there's any issue at all, we'll be there momentarily.
All right, I'm going to have it noted that if something does happen, I requested 2 times for a police officer to be there from the beginning. I want that noted because I will escalate this further because this is not right for given the situation that occurred in that house and the potential for something else to happen. My family should have never been in that position in the first place. Now I'm requesting something that should be placed there, and you're telling me no several times. That right there is not right.
Justin, it's Katie. We spoke yesterday.
We did speak yesterday.
Huh?
We did speak yesterday. Given the intense nature of this situation and what could occur, I'm going to be there for 2 to 3 hours. I know what her father's capable of. I know what could happen.
But
Pressure media are there. I'm just telling you.
I understand the stressful situation, but what we spoke to yesterday was that we weren't going to prevent you from going in the house, but if something happened, you could call us right away and we'd be there. Just to that was what we spoke.
No, we did speak about that, and after thinking about it again, I wanted to make my concerns noted 2 times. So if something does happen, if something does occur, this will be noted, and I have no problem escalating it further. I appreciate your time. Thank you, and have a good day.
What time are you heading over there?
I will be there at 9:30 with 5 or 6 other men. It's going to be a couple hours.
All right. Well, that. There was no formal request at a certain time, Justin, and I understand.
I understand that. I went through Crystal as well. I asked Crystal. Crystal said she would ask as well. That never coming back to me. This is a formal request. I called yesterday. You gave me this information. I'm calling again this morning, and I'm telling you that. You guys do last minute details every single day. This is a last minute detail. Yesterday would have been a detail that was not last minute.
Would you like a detail?
I am not paying for a detail.
Okay,
my family should have never been in that situation. My child and myself should have never happened. I will absolutely escalate whatever I have to do. If I'm saying that I don't feel comfortable and I don't want to put my brother again, my friend into a situation where something could occur, or if you knew what happened, I don't know what her family would be capable of at this point. They've already filed negligence against me as the father when there has been nothing. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they would be capable of. But if you want to wait and find out, that is on you. And I'm glad this is a recorded line.
Okay.
So I will be there at 9:30. If you do not have someone there, all of my concerns have been noted. Thank you for your time and goodbye.
While Kelsey was critically injured in
Justin wanting a police detail just to retrieve his shit? I mean, let's break that down, right? Because when someone asks for a police detail to pick up their belongings, that's not normal. That's not standard, right? That's not something what people do when they're collecting their shit after a breakup, right? Yeah, you want to call, yeah, you want to keep the peace, but not for 2-3 hours. You know, that's what people do when they're trying to build a record, you know, create a paper trail. You want to set the stage for your own narrative. You know, that's written out of the Turtleboy's book. Because it didn't happen, you know, over a conflict during tension. If something happens, call, as they said, right? If you're generally afraid, then handle it. Call the police in that moment. Police ain't gonna protect you when the danger, you know, like, oh, somebody might come, her daddy might come. But asking for a detail to get your belongings, that's not being afraid, Justin. That's strategy, right? That's the kind of move that looks good on paper. Creating a record trail, you know, painting a picture. You know, that's building some concern shit. And judges notice that. Family court judges especially, bro. All right, let's get back into this.
The hospital fighting for her life.
Oh,
Justin
he's
and
breaking
3 friends
in.
broke into her home.
Whoa.
And if this man with the cap looks familiar to you, there's a very good reason for that. He was one of the North Andover firemen who responded to the shooting just a few days earlier. First, he helped save her life. Now he was back to help remove property from her home. Their first order of business was to destroy the surveillance system, causing thousands of dollars in damage. According to defense allegations, they tore the modem out of its wiring. They stole cash, gift cards, Kelsey's passport, her laptop, and other valuables.
Yeah, so you said that you were over on Phyllis Brooks gathering some belongings?
Yep. Grab my.
Was that the federal crime that he was talking about? When Bradle said there was federal crimes committed.
They stole cash, gift cards, Kelsey's
Was this the federal crimes he was talking about?
passport, her laptop, and other valuables.
Yeah, so you said that you were over on Phyllis Brooks gathering some belongings?
Yep. Grab my belongings. The alarm did go off. They had changed the locks. The alarm did go off. Her dad has he set the full system up. He has everything. He's going to know the alarm going off, and I have no doubt in my mind he's going to be driving down to New Hampshire to show up here.
Okay. Whereabouts from New Hampshire would he be coming from?
He's up in the not the Rochester. I forget exactly what town he's in. He's probably about 40 minutes away, 30 minutes away. I don't know if he's coming, but I have no doubt in my mind that man is going to come down with a vengeance.
Okay. I mean, do you think that
I called 2 times. My family should have never been in this position. I called 2 times, once yesterday, once today, and I'm asking for a detail down here for 2 hours. If that's something that you guys cannot do, I will gladly escalate the situation.
He said, I'll escalate the situation.
This is ridiculous.
What do you mean by escalate the situation?
I will go to the media. I will do whatever I have to do to ensure my family's safety, my brother's safety here, and 2 firefighters that are here. If his family comes down, they are absolutely going to be doing something.
Okay.
You're saying there's no resources for this. It's insane.
If you need a detail, I can put a detail out.
I will not be paying for a detail given the circumstances of this. You can bring this to the chief. Please bring it to someone because I am not paying a cent for this. This is ridiculous.
I mean, if it was so bad, bro, right? Why up to this point was you still dealing with Kelsey in her daily life? Why didn't you call the cops earlier? Why didn't you seek emergency custody sooner, right? Get your kid away sooner if she was that bad. Why didn't you report danger when this shit happened? What happened at that party? Did you meet someone else and all of a sudden, like, all right, I'm moving on? Because fear without action is fear. It's narrative. It's a narrative, bro. And the police detail, it fits the pattern. I want a police detail.
Given the circumstances and the escalation of this situation, you not providing a detail and having it be your guys' idea is unbelievable.
We can provide a detail, but you're going to be charged for it.
I will not be charged for that. You know what? I am glad this is the 3rd time this is happening because when something does happen at this location, it is going to be all under that department. Once again, this is unbelievable.
Justin, when he gets there, just call us and we'll send an officer over there to keep the peace.
That's not how it's going to go down, but thank you for your time.
No one showed up to confront
He said
Justin.
that's not
Once again,
how
the
it's
pattern
going to
persisted.
go
Fear and
down.
paranoia overrode all logic and reason. Then, Justin brought her laptop to his parents.
That's not how it's going to go down. I mean, if you was that afraid, bro, leave your shit. You know what I mean? Like, forget it. If you're that afraid of her, you don't send cops to get your stuff. You stay away. You're like, whatever, man. She's out there. You don't need a detail, bro. You need some growing up, bro. You need distance, right? You probably met someone else. All of a sudden, they got you a little hot in the string. You wanted to lay down with Kelsey, make a baby, but you don't want to be man enough to take care of that baby. I mean, it happens all the time.
parents' residence in Stowe, Massachusetts, where it connected to his family's Wi-Fi network. He accessed her Facebook and Gmail accounts, gained entry to her bank accounts. He withdrew approximately $5,000. He accessed her medical records. He accessed her beneficiary information. He cancelled her travel reservations and then redirected funds to his own account. He returned the laptop to her home at some point during Kelsey's 53-day hospitalization, which means he made a second unlawful entry, likely once he realized Kelsey was not going to die.
Oh, shit. So, knowing that she was going to die, he said, I'm going to take the $5,000. I'm going to transfer money to my account. Then he said, oh, shit. She ain't going to die, Kelsey. She's going. Then he got scared to death because, you know, Justin's scared to death of Kelsey. He put that laptop back. I mean, I don't think stealing the money is the crime. I think transferring it from bank account to bank account is where you might have them federal crimes. God damn, bro.
Hi, Kelsey. My name's David. I'm from Mass State Police. I'm a sergeant at the DA's office. This is Cam Ortiz. And just so you know, a body came on. And so unfortunately, we have the police under arrest today. We're gonna call your attorney so he knows. Okay. And then we're gonna try to get you arraigned via Zoom as soon as possible. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, this is kind of shock, but.
What about the test tubes?
Everything's gonna change. Yeah, you're staying here. You're gonna get arraigned from your bed. All right. Either we're gonna do it from my laptop. I don't know. The tin might come down here. I do it with my cell phone, but. All right.
Kelsey was arraigned from her hospital bed via phone. She was
Man, she goes from being a cop to being arraigned.
held on dangerousness and ordered to go to jail as soon as she was well enough.
We don't believe that Kelsey pointed her gun at anyone except herself.
Our real goal is to make sure that she is heard, that the truth comes out about what really happened here, and our client is innocent.
On August 15th, the defense's bail petition was heard in Essex Superior Court. Kelsey was once again arraigned from her hospital bed. Judge McCarthy Naiman left her civil session to preside over Kelsey's bail hearing. This was highly unusual and suggested she was taking an unhealthy interest in the case. Unsurprisingly, she denied bail, and her conduct behind the bench would become more and more bizarre. On August 25th, the Essex County DA sought a high-stakes indictment for armed assault with intent to murder, which carried a potential 20-year sentence. But the grand jury rejected that theory, returning a no-true bill after finding insufficient proof of an intent to kill. Instead, they indicted Kelsey on the much lesser charge of assault by means of a dangerous weapon, which means they were utterly unconvinced by Officer Noonan's story. This decision dismantled the state's attempted murder narrative, shifting the case's focus toward a mental health crisis.
His story is too perfect. That's his problem. His story is too good. It's too perfect.
Failing to secure the top charge, the prosecution saw the maximum potential prison time plummet from decades to just 5 years. On August 28th, the judge found her dangerous, but allowed release under house arrest and scram alcohol testing. And on August 29th, after 2 long months, major surgery, and weeks recovering from a collapsed lung, Kelsey was finally released from the hospital. But she was not allowed to go directly home. Instead, she was taken into law enforcement custody and held at the Western Massachusetts Regional Women's Correctional Center in Chicopee while she awaited her formal release on bail. After 3 days, she left jail under the supervision of her mother. But she quickly discovered there was a problem. The defense filed a medical notice, stating that due to her chest wounds, she could not physically breathe deeply enough to trigger the scram device. She desperately wanted to comply with the order, but physically could not. And on September 11th, Judge McCarthy Naiman heard the defense on Kelsey's breathing issue. Her conduct at this hearing would shock the public and draw far more attention to the case.
So I received the defendant's emergency motion for immediate release from his grant order. So I'll hear from the moving party.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Judge, this is an issue that causes Ms. Fitzsimmons a lot of pain. And I don't want to conflate her being able to pass the test, because she's been passing them. But she has about 4 hours of pain and dizziness afterwards. And you know, I don't think anyone, and I know the court would share my thought, that this shouldn't be a torture device for her. This shouldn't be something that causes her pain, impairs her rib healing, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we're not trying to get any sort of advantage over anything. We just want her to not, A, to not be in pain for hours after these tests, and B, you know, we just want her to not have the anxiety that if she has a difficulty doing it, that she's going to get a knock on the door and get locked up. You have Mr. January's email regarding his own observations about what happened.
Mr. January is Kelsey's probation officer, who witnessed her struggling in pain to take the test. The defense submitted an email from him acknowledging the issue, and he is present in the courtroom for this hearing.
And, you know, I think that says it all. That's someone that has no bias or interest, and, you know, probation enforces court orders, and that's that. And he's telling the court this is a problem.
Okay, so you're asking the court to adjust the court's order that's been in effect for 3 days with no medical evidence to support your claim that she cannot do it?
Well, I think you have 2 affidavits and the email from probation. I think that's pretty persuasive evidence that this is extremely difficult.
The email from probation is not evidence. If you have any evidence, now is your opportunity to submit it.
I don't understand the court's position. That's not evidence.
Okay, it's an email. It's hearsay. Commonwealth, do you have a position as to the submissions of an email as evidence in this hearing to relieve the defendant, Ms. Fitzsimmons, of a condition that's been in effect for 3 days?
I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but we have the person who sent that email here.
Okay. So you have a burden. It's your motion. What do you want to do?
Well, Judge, I don't think that is the court saying that papers and emails and affidavits are not sufficient?
This is an email from a probation officer. The court gives that 0 weight.
The judge's determination that the email was not evidence would later become a central factor in her removal from the case. You can hear in attorney Tim Bradle's response that he's caught off guard by this.
Well, then you have an affidavit from Ms. Fitzsimmons and you have an affidavit from her mother of the physical observations of what happens. I think it's self-evident and it's common knowledge that if you have broken ribs, that it's hard to breathe.
What evidence do I have that she has current broken ribs and that she's suffering from broken ribs at this time?
Well, you have an affidavit from her mother, you have an affidavit from Ms. Fitzsimmons, and the other day we were here, I submitted the instructions from Mass General about broken ribs.
Okay.
She's having great difficulty. It's been observed by probation, it's been attested to by her mother, and it's been attested to by Ms. Fitzsimmons. So it's just a very difficult scenario for her.
The defense's request is not unreasonable, yet the judge appears personally invested in making Kelsey's situation more difficult. The probation officer speaks next about his observations.
She answered the alert to take the test as scheduled. Unfortunately, she was unable to complete the test because she was unable to blow as long or as hard as needed to complete the test. So we also know that, and I observed it firsthand, that whatever the injuries are, which I don't know, actually doesn't really matter to me. But when I was doing the installation process and observed what was genuine pain, genuine pain. So
any objection to any of the terms used by the probation officer? Okay.
So
McCarthy Neyman invites the prosecutor to object, but he doesn't. Not even the man whose job it is to convict Kelsey appears as biased against her as this judge.
And she ultimately passes the test. That's compliance. If she had missed the test, and then that would determine whether or not there's actual non-compliance. This particular case, I don't deem non-compliance because she's complying with the scheduled program. I'm aware of pain based on my observations from the installation process. So as long as she's attempting to take the test, continues to attempt to take the test, and then ultimately takes the test, that's not non-compliance. That's someone that's
that's your position. That's non-compliant. It's really up to the court to decide whether somebody's compliant or not with conditions of release.
It would never be brought to court by way of a pretrial violation for an incomplete test with the information that I've talked about. So no, an incomplete test does not initiate a pretrial violation from our end, because there are many reasons for a test to be incomplete. That's not intentional non-compliance. The goal is to test to ensure that the person's sober, and that's not. We don't deem that non-compliance. We never have, and we never would in this case.
Mr. January deserves recognition here. Public trust in Massachusetts courts has been eroded by egregious conduct, like what we see from McCarthy Neyman. Voters are sick and tired of the corruption. So when a probation officer simply states the truth, it stands out. But now she's angry at him too, which will become evident in just a moment.
Attorney Bradle, do you have anything else to submit?
Judge, I would just offer, I respect and I heard Your Honor's take on the probation email, but for the record, I would move that into evidence as well. And I just want to also...
Commonwealth, do you have a position as to the admission of the email?
Well, I think we just heard with the email.
All right, so the email is excluded. Anything else, Attorney Bradle?
My objection, Your Honor.
Sure.
Just, I just want to clarify something. My email, and I know it's important that the court knows I didn't make a recommendation that the scram condition be vacated. I never did that. I never suggested. Is all that email was.
Attorney, Officer January, nobody's asking you questions. Your testimony is complete. Are you asking to make a statement to the court?
If the court's under the belief that I recommended that condition be vacated or removed, then yeah.
I haven't said anything one way or the other, sir. We're here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's for the motion to vacate the scram device. So Ms. Fitzsimmons is able to do the scram. Is that correct? Or is she not able to do it? I don't know. Is she not able to do it?
That depends on whether the court is willing to tolerate that the material represented in the
court is not tolerating anything. Okay, let's be clear. I'm not tolerating anything. The court is not tolerating anything. Ms. Fitzsimmons is a defendant. In lieu of incarceration, my order was that she submit to scram. If she cannot do that, I need to know that. Can she do that or not?
She can do it.
Okay.
Under the terms that are laid out in the affidavit.
So you're saying she can do it on her own terms?
With significant pain and dizziness and having to recover for several hours.
I understand what you're saying. It's certainly not the court's intention. It's not the court's position to have Ms. Fitzsimmons in any pain at all. So I appreciate your argument. Do you have anything else to add?
I would suggest, Judge, that I think there's other ways to do this. If the court wishes to have her tested for alcohol compliance, lack of alcohol, that's completely fine with the defense. But just the means that's being employed is kind of a torture device for her.
Okay.
And so we object on due process grounds to that.
Oh, okay.
But
It is not this court's intention
I understand.
to torture Ms. Fitzsimmons at all. The court's goal is to make sure the community is safe and Officer Noonan is safe. So I hear you loud and clear that the defense views Ms. Fitzsimmons having to do this gram as cruel and unusual and torture. Is that your position?
Well, that's an Eighth Amendment position. I suppose that can be put in there as well. But Judge, I think that, that there's probably other alternatives that she could do that I believe are out there. But I know that might step on the court's other order for house arrest, that you would have to go to a facility. I know there's like urine tests and other things like that. So I know there's other possibilities out there that, again, she's not trying to use this to create a situation where she can go drink alcohol.
Okay.
That's not at all what this is about. So I just want to ask the court to consider any other alternatives that might not pose this type of an issue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney Gubitosi or Attorney Moriarty, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, I'm going to leave the bench for a few minutes. I'll break.
The judge leaves momentarily to consider the request.
Court, all right. Goes back to
Your Honor, we're back on the record with this Fitzsimmons matter.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So I have reviewed everything again that's been submitted to me. And I'll say for the record that Fitzsimmons has moved twice in a 3-day period to amend the current conditions of release. Just days ago, the court concluded that the condition of remaining alcohol-free and submitting to SRIM monitoring was necessary to ensure the safety of the community. After a thorough review of all of the arguments and submissions by the Commonwealth and Fitzsimmons, that conclusion remains unchanged, regardless of Fitzsimmons' claimed physical limitations. Based on an affidavit submitted by Fitzsimmons' mother, the testimony of Assistant Chief Probation Officer Jeff January, about his observations of Fitzsimmons' apparent pain during the SRIM installation, and the representations of Fitzsimmons' counsel that it would be cruel and unusual punishment and torture to continue to require Fitzsimmons to comply with the condition of being monitored by SRAM, the court concludes that Fitzsimmons cannot abide by the condition of being monitored by SRAM. Without this condition, which ensures that she does not consume any alcohol, the court cannot assure the safety of Officer Noonan and all other persons in the community. Accordingly, the court's prior order of release is vacated, and Fitzsimmons is ordered to be held without bail pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 276, Section 58A. And a written order will follow. That's the court's order. Thank you.
All right, Your Honor, I ask you to stay your order pending the SJC. And there are other alternatives Your Honor can cover.
Kelsey was ordered back to jail. The next day, Judge McCarthy Naiman filed a formal complaint against the probation officer, accusing him of colluding with the defense to manipulate the court. The defense cited this as proof that she wasn't just making a legal ruling, but was actively working against the defendant. In an urgent appeal to the Supreme Judicial Court, the defense argued that Judge McCarthy Naiman had overstepped by forcing a breath-based monitoring condition on a defendant with a documented collapsed lung. The motion for recusal went further, alleging the judge had abandoned her neutrality by conducting an undisclosed private investigation into Fitzsimmons just 24 hours before the hearing. She had apparently walked down to the probation department all on her own and asked questions about Kelsey, a serious violation of the Code of Judicial Ethics. The defense characterized her dismissal of the probation officer's observations as deliberate suppression of evidence to justify an impossible bail condition. Instead of dealing with the issue directly, the SJC rendered it moot, stating that Judge McCarthy Naiman was no longer scheduled to hear Kelsey's case. This gave her an easy out, without having to address any of the troubling questions posed by the defense. Like, what is her relation to Officer Patrick McCarthy Noonan? Why did she repeatedly leave civil session to hear Kelsey's case? And why didn't she disclose her ex parte meeting in the probation office? Regardless, it was clear to the public what had just happened. The Superior Court judge had just done Judge McCarthy Naiman a very big favor. But at least Kelsey was released from jail, so she could begin preparing for her upcoming trial, due to start about 1 month later. On March 26th, after a 4-day trial, Kelsey Fitzsimmons was found not guilty. Judge Jeffrey Karp determined that the Commonwealth failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Kelsey ever pointed her firearm at Officer Noonan, and stated that if police departments implemented body cameras, this entire ordeal could have been avoided. If you would like to support Kelsey, the link can be found in the description. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
Number one, and it's a compound question, so we can start with that, but I also want to get to the whole 15 feet away, expert SWAT guy missing, stuff like that too. But let's start with the 3 to 4 seconds, the maneuvering with the firearms and the maneuvering around the room that he explained.
So his version of events is basically he's in the room. She says she got him out of the room, that he left, but he says he never left. He was keeping an eye on her. And then suddenly she goes from a kneeling position to diving into this box to retrieve a firearm, which, I mean, I tried to do that. I might be just too old, but I tried to do that knee to dive move, and it was embarrassing. So he says she grabs this gun, which, given that he's watching her, like, how does she grab this gun? He says it was in the shoebox thing. And so does she open the shoebox, and is he just watching this, or is the shoebox open and for some reason he just fails to notice a gun just sitting there? That was my first sort of what the heck. But she grabs up this gun, points it at him, and I've got an airsoft here for some demonstration, pulls the trigger, and gets a click. And then while getting up to her, or she at some point in this gets up to her feet, I might have misheard him, but it sounded like he said she got up to her feet before she pulled the trigger and she got up to her feet after she pulled the trigger. Whichever it is, she pulls the trigger. It doesn't fire. She immediately starts a clearing drill, and on direct, the clearing drill was just tap, rack, and then tap, rack. And then later on cross, when they started actually exploring, like, hey, what's going on? I didn't hear it in the direct, but on cross, he says, well, she seems like she didn't quite get the cycling. And I was like, okay. So all of this raises interesting questions. The first is he puts this time frame at 3.5 to 4 seconds. And I'm just like, you're sitting there and you go beep. It's hard to get that into 3.5, 4 seconds just on its own, but it's also a motion that you have to practice.
And not only that, the spring's much different on a real weapon, which I think Ian will get to.
And she's supposedly doing this while simultaneously backing up and ducking over. And, I do firearm competitions. Most, when you're talking about the top level people, they can do this no problem, right? But when you're talking about the average person, somebody who's been, who comes out to competitions occasionally, they practice a little bit, but what you'll see is when they have a stoppage, the first thing they do is pause, because you're trying to figure out what just happened. You were expecting it to go bang and it went click. So, when something unexpected happens, you expect a second or 2 seconds for just reaction time. Like if you're driving and a child runs out in front of you, it takes a second or 2 to react. You're not instantly on the brakes. And so we've got that. Was she expecting it to go click? Clearly not, or she would have done the clearance first.
So there was like no freezing in her mind, like what just happened, right? I mean, that's what I think would happen first.
There's no time for that in his, but also like the tap rack is itself a series of actions. And if you've practiced it enough, you can do it just automatically, whatever, and do other things. But most people, when you see them in a shooting competition, when they have that stoppage, they'll stop running. You will have these competitions where you have to run from one target to another, and they stop because they have to focus on what they're doing. It's surprisingly challenging to do.
You can go check that out on The Lawyer. But yeah, everything Noonan said, the door, the lunge, the angle, the timing, it just felt more like a movie, but appreciate everybody. That's about it today. We'll definitely have more coming up soon. Become a member or hook up the super chat. Really appreciate that. If not, Venmo or Cash App. One word, can we keep it real? Really appreciate everybody. I think that's about it. So we out of here, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Yo.
Turtleboy, you think you run the game, but your followers are lost. Just look at the aim. A cult-like crew, chant stupid is bliss, but ignorance ain't gold, man. It's just a hit or miss.
Yo, bitch boy, listen up, gotta talk to you now. The game's up, we ain't buying what you selling somehow. Yeah, we can't take much more of this bullshit, man. You parade around town like some kind of fan. Award-winning journalist, nah, just a fraud with valid stuff. Is that the game that you applauded? You ask your chat, what's the hot news today? When it's you in the mirror, the one that led you astray. Bitch boy, no glory, your stories in the trash. Pathetic, deceptive, turn your dreams to ash. You painted your own mess, now drown in the doubt. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. You became the cringe, the laughing stock of it all. Claiming awards, but it's just a paper wall. Blogging ain't journalism, see that's the crime. Real talk, you spitting slime, wasting all of our time. Shout out to Ad Baker Broken, he's down with the cause. Don't you dare attack, that ain't no applause. Stand with the real, never with the fake. Cause we don't fuck with clowns and all the moves they make. Bitch boy, no glory, your stories in the trash. Pathetic, deceptive, turn your dreams to ash. You painted your own mess, now drown in the doubt. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. It's all about. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. Sick of your lies, tired of your deceit. Shirley Max, man, heard your mama's toughest cries on repeat. This ain't a game, you made your bed, now sleep in the mess. The world ain't your playground, it's time to confess. You thought you were tough, thought we were blind, but now we see the truth and it's making us refine. Aidan Kearney, Kate Peter, all the ones you side with. Your crew's full of losers, that's easy to find it. So back up, take a step, recognize your fate. No sympathy for snakes, yeah, your time's running late. Yeah, bitch boy, we gon' rise above your lies. This rebel anthem, hear the truth that never dies. In the struggle together, no more choking on your spin. We break the bonds you made, it's time to begin. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. Yo, we gotta talk about the drama, it's getting real. All these patterns in the game, we gotta reveal. Yeah, check it, sabotaging allies, that's how it plays. Dividing communities, caught up in the maze. Manufacturing drama like it's a 9 to 5. Exploding victims, seeing who'll survive. Movements turning into personal stages. People forget, and then we're left with the cages. Attacking anyone who sets boundaries tight. Casting shadows on the truth, thinking that it's right. Melting down when the control slips away. Claiming family issues, but that's just the way they sway. These are not family issues, it's accountability. Patterns feel like ink, can't escape the reality. When you see the signs, it's like a script on replay. You know it's in the choices, not just how they play. Not just how they play. You know it's in the choices, not just how they play. Not just how they play. It's in the choices, not just how they play. Why we bring up his mother when he spirals down, wondering how the family be feeling in this town. But it's not about her, it's about behaviors and lies. Movements collapsing, can't you hear their cries? Supporters have walked like they took off their masks. Victims for triggered men, it's a heavy task. Collaborators smeared and they're feeling the weight. Teaming up with the shadows feels like such a fate. People keep asking how they come to this, trying to place blame on someone who's missed. But the truth lies clear in the actions he chose, not in where he came from. Get that through your prose. These are not family issues, it's accountability. Patterns feel like ink, can't escape the reality. When you see the signs, it's like a script on replay. You know it's in the choices, not just how they play. Not just how they play. You know it's in the choices, not just how they play. Not just how they play. You know it's in the choices, not just how they play. Patterns never lie, watch the world start spinning. Take hold of your choices, it's a new beginning. Irrelevant roots, yeah, that's the real deal. Stand up for the truth, let's keep it for real.
Yo, listen close, it's about to get real, you know how we roll. Came through the door, time to expose what's untold.
Cease and desist, yeah, they coming for the crown. Pawn against it, high fiending like they running this town. Braga with a briefcase, lawyer up, the stakes rise high. Only the guilty sweat and tell me who's paying the way. Why? Can we keep it real, podcast? Got them in the sights. Expose the truth, man, we shining through the night. Barely don't you have some makeup to slap on? And Anna Maria in the boy shower, girl, what's going on? It's a circus act. It's a shame to see the role models fade. Sleep around campus, but who's really getting paid? What type of example you setting? Who you trying to teach? Teacher on the low, can't afford that type of breach. Teacher on the low, can't afford that type of breach. Teachers doing wrong, your beetle making you do it again. Predatory skills just like a game of chess, man. It takes a special dude with a year of restraining orders in sight against his own daughter. Tell me, is that even right? Another low drop, child support, how low will you go? Now you suing the blogger, exposing all that you know over public records. Don't take it personal, this just entertainment, huh? Yeah, right, tell that to the chaos that you've been creating, son. It's a yo, we back on the block with shadows creeping, secrets talk. Jimmy and Auntie Deb in the mix. Wait till you hear the knock. It was the night of the wheel, but laughter turned to ice. Crowd roaring like thunder, gossip like a vice. Nurse Kim in the spotlight, did she pay the price? Jimmy pointing fingers, yo, Auntie Deb precise. Talking behind the scenes, truth twisted like a knife. Accusations buzzing in the air like it's some kind of strife. Infidelity in the whispers, crossing lines cut through. Auntie Deb snitching out her best friend, watching The View. Jimmy snitch king, hating Nurse Kim real low. Adulterous woman, that's what he chose to throw. Left the husband in the dust for a fling she found online. The night turned dark, yo, that tea didn't shine. Wilbur of Venn lit, but they threw shade. Nurse Kim's name on the list, and they started to blade. A tramp, they said, as if they held the crown and fighting among the riders. They tearing it down, ride or die, that's the code, but loyalty's weak in the community's eyes. Man, the drama's at its peak. Turtle riders stirring pots like witches at a brew. What's real, what's fake, can't separate the truth. Yeah. Jimmy snitch king, paid Nurse Kim real low. Adulterous woman, that's what he chose to throw. Left the husband in the dust for a fling she found online. The night turned dark, yo, that tea didn't shine. Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king.
Late night bad vibes, backstabbers in the crew.
Friends turn foes, man. How are we supposed to get through? Auntie Deb the whisper took the dagger in the dark. We were supposed to ride, but this leave a heavy mark. Nurse Kim's in the shadows, heart heavy like lead. Jimmy threw her under, beat her down till she bled. Divorce papers served, all caught in this game. But who's really guilty, man? Should we feel the shame? Yo, snitching in the spotlight, watch the fire spark. One night it will, but you know it left a mark. Nurse Kim in the dark, fighting battles to win. In this twisted game, where do we begin? Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king, Jimmy snitch king.
They ask if I'm okay, yo, just flashing my smile. But inside, man, it's been a long while.
They ask if I'm okay, I tell them I'm fine. But deep down I'm fighting day and nighttime. Just a mask on my face, but what's behind that grin? Statues of pain, watch me push it all in. I'm no stranger to shadows, hanging around like ghosts. The silence in my head, man, that's what I feel most. 6 feet down, yeah, that's when flowers come alive. Ain't no petals for the living, just for those who survive. I think I feel the pain my father felt. The weight of unsaid words, a heart that now melts. The burden's heavy, but I wrestle with pride. If these walls could talk, what secrets they'd hide? If these walls could talk, I bet they'd blame me. All the struggles and the doubts, they say it's plain to see that I'm not tough enough. Burn everything that I touch. I'm just out here floating, no hope, no crutch, yeah. These feel like battles and I'm wearing my armor. But the war of mine, it just gets warmer. Trying to stand tall while my doubts pull me low. When I'm lost in these thoughts, where's the light that I know? I burn bridges like it's nothing, ashes falling like rain. But these tears ain't weak, they come from the pain. I acknowledge every
Yeah, they ask if I'm okay, but I'm grinding my teeth. Smile like I'm fine, but beneath I'm a beast.
They see the mask, they want the truth, but I'm tight-lipped. Flash them a grin like I'm good, but my heart's in a grip. Chasing dreams in this concrete jungle, no room for doubt. Pressure building up like a storm, gotta scream it out. Through these walls, hear me, or is it just echoing pain? Flashes of the past, torture like they holding the chain. 6 feet under, man, that's where the flowers grow. But I'm still here fighting, just trying to find my flow.
I feel my father's shadow lurking in my chest. The weight of the world has got me feeling stressed. They look at me and say, boy, you ain't man enough. But they don't see the fire that's burning in the rough.
Heavy these walls could talk. They say it's all my fault. That I don't try hard, act like I never fought. But I'm just trying to stand. But the flames, they lick my feet. Every flower I touch turns to ash in the heat.
Raised in a game where the weak get pushed aside, but I'm tired of hiding behind this mask, can't abide. Hands burned from the struggle, still I'm reaching for the stars. Every scar a reminder of a night spent behind bars. Yeah, I see the whispers, hear the doubts in my head, but no flower blooms from the pain that I was fed. Count the losses, count the moments that I failed to reclaim, but every victory's a spark igniting this flame. Yeah.
I feel my father's shadow creeping in my spine. Be a man, boy, echoes like an old lesson line. Can't escape his voice, the pressure just won't let up. Constellations of regret still orbit in my cup.
These walls could talk, they say it's all my fault.
That I don't try hard, act like I never fought. But I'm just trying to stand. But the flames, they lick my feet. Every flower I touch turns to ash in the heat. Yeah, they ask if I'm okay. No, I ain't fine, but I'm rising from these ashes, burning like a shrine. So if they throw the dirt, I'll roll right from the grime. In this concrete jungle, I'm the one that's on the climb. Yeah. Flowers in the shadow, they only bloom in time.
Yo, we gotta talk about the drama. It's getting real. All these patterns in the game, we gotta reveal.
Check it, sabotaging allies. That's how it plays, dividing communities caught up in the maze. Manufacturing drama like it's a 9 to 5, exploiting victims, seeing who survive. Movements turning into personal stages. People forgetting that we're left with the cadence. Attacking anyone who sets boundaries tight, casting shadows on the truth, thinking that it's right. Melting down when the control slips away.
People keep asking how they come to this, trying to place blame on someone who's missed, but the truth lies clear in the actions he chose, not in where he came from. Get that through your throat. These are not family issues, it's accountability. Patterns feel like ink, can't escape the reality. When you see the signs, it's like a script on replay. You know what's in the choices, not just how they play.
Why we bring up his mother.
Yeah, we got something to say, you ready? Turn the volume up, bitch boy lives in denial.
Yo, bitch boy, what's with your lies and deception? You think you're all that with your fake accolades and perception. Award-winning, nah, just a dubious claim. Fraudster in the game and you're the one to blame. Stuffed ballot boxes you thought no one would see, but the truth shines brighter than your crooked history. You've changed, bro, became despicable and pathetic. Went from journalist to wannabe. Let's get it, everything you did, just a mask, a charade. Now it's time to expose the foundation of your charade. Bitch boy, we can't take much more of your bullshit. Turtleboy in the spotlight, but you're losing your grip. You ain't no award-winning journalist, just a blogger in disguise. Put you on blast, everybody sees through your lies.
Baker broken, he's got Down syndrome and still stands tall. Why attack the weak when it's you who's bound to fall? A patsy in your games ain't his fault that you're cruel, but I'll stand up for him, that's the realest rule. You think you're tough with your echo
echo chamber crew, but I'm not with Aidan Kearney, Cape Peter or you. I call them out, expose them all, one by one. The McAlberts in the rest, man, it's time to be done. Shirley Max, we heard those cries, the toughest calls, but you ain't got the strength, you'll crumble and fall. Here to listen up. We're taking a stand for every survivor. We break the silence on command. Yo, are we condemning the man, painting them with blame, not believing the truth, calling survivors insane? Alex, I stand with you, you're not alone in this fight. We're tearing down the shame, stepping into the light. Predators lurk, they hide in the night. Turtleboy pops up, ready to ignite. Re-traumatizing victims, shaming they past, calling them liars, but this truth's gonna last. We rise up, we stand united in the fight against the evil. Through the dark we bring the light. No more silence, it's time to break the chains. For every survivor, we'll expose the pains. Yeah, Melanie Little, stop backing so proud, bragging about the fortune, got your head in the cloud. You supported Ray from Dallas, what's the deal? How you still stand with him after all the survivors appeal? You said you fight back, but where's your support? Grifting on their backs, how do you report? Deceptions in the shadows, hiding what's true, we're calling you out. It's time to break through. This is for the children who suffer in silence, for the ones who got lost in the cycles of violence. Stand up together, break the spell of the weak, we're done with the silence. United we rise up, we stand united in the fight against the evil. Through the dark we bring the light. No more silence, it's time to break the chains. For every survivor, we'll expose the pain. Time to bring down Will the glare of Uncle Debbie too. Mental instability, it's time to see it through. Jessica Machado, your hatred for Nan's clear. You hide behind your anger, it's time we persevere. Raised dressed like a sheep, but he's hunting on kin. A wolf in disguise, but we'll never give in. This fight ain't over, we're rising like flames. For every survivor, we're calling out names. We rise, we shout against all the lies. No more stigma, no more alibis. Stand with us, hear every survivor's decree. Against the predators, we'll stand strong and free. We rise up. We rise up. We rise up. We rise up. Listen up. We're taking a stand.
Yeah. You know the story. It's heavy in the air. When a father turns to shadows, how could you even dare? Yo, Will Henry, you a sucker. Let's break it down. Claim you a man, but where's your crown? Put your hands up, kid. You taught him how to fight, but you ain't fighting right, man. This ain't no light. You grab your son, run off like a thief in the night. Where's the love? This ain't how you raise a child, right? Kicking your son out like he's just a game piece. How you claim to be a dad, forgetting his release. Will Henry, you a sucker. Can't you see the glare? Claiming blackmailing the myth. You think no one cares? Special needs child, you're running from the truth. But every word you spit just reveals your own you. Admitting the violence, it's hard for me to trust. Fighting your kid, nah, that's just unjust. 6'2", but he's still your son at the core. Raising fists over lessons, that ain't what you're for. Talk about forgiveness, but you let ego reign. Dragging things out like a puppet on a chain. You think you're tough, man, but underneath is weak. Claiming power with fists when it should be love you seek. Allegations swirling, made public and raw. Yet you try to justify and glaze over the flaw. Just look in the mirror, see the man you become. A name in the charts, but what's under that drum? Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmailing violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you claim it's all fine, but the truth's in the lineup, it's living in every line. Will Henry, you a sucker, got all eyes on you. Blackmailing violence, is that the best you can do? Special needs child, you claim it's all fine, but the truth's in the lineup, it's living in every line. Look,
I'm not built to watch a man tear down his own. You need to change direction before the seed you sown. A name ain't a warrior. It's the truth that empowers. So rise up, Will, and stop hiding in the towers.
Yeah. You know the story. It's heavy in the air. When a father turns to shadows, how could you even dare? Yo, Will Henry, you a sucker. Let's break it down.
Listen up. We're taking a stand.
Let's break it down, keep it real. No filter. Real talk, real lies. We're diving deep. Yo, Turtle, let's rewind, take it back like a tape. Legally recorded, Karen like it's all just a game. Blinded by the fame, you sold out the Wilbur. But what about the truth, man? Your vision's still obscure. You took shots, laughed hard, thought it was a roast. But no joke was told when she was your ghost. Living in the shadows while you made the jokes about Karen losing home while you played like a hoax. How about that couch life, waiting for a chance? Riding on a wave until your real life could dance. All because a case gave you agency, created dreams. But tell me, do you see it? Are you lost in schemes? Can we keep it real now? Keep it 100. Free Karen Red, she's the one you wanted. Ain't no shots fired, just the truth from your peers. But you out here clowning, beating off fish. Can we keep it real now? Keep it 100. Free Karen Red, she's the one you wanted. Ain't no shots fired, just the truth from your peers. But you out here clowning, beating off fish. You throw shade, but you don't even know. Real victims behind every punchline you throw. Shout out to the podcast, bring the truth to the light. Free Karen Red, we will always fight. Turtle, you asked to the Wilbur, then you shut down. Treat the queen like a jester, wearing that crown. Karen never disrespected, never turned cold. But here you are, spinning stories like gold. Remember when you crash landed on that couch, waiting for the moment, hiding like a louse. She never made fun, always kept it sincere. But you're the one who's nasty, and it's painfully clear, man. Man, keep it real, what you got to lose? Truth's gonna catch up, spreading the blues. Got the whole podcast, sharing voices, stand tall. Free Karen Red, it's a justice call. Can we keep it real now? Keep it 100. Free Karen Red, she's the one you wanted. Ain't no shots fired, just the truth from your peers. But you out here clowning, beating off fears. Can we keep it real now? Keep it 100. Free Karen Red, she's the one you wanted. Ain't no shots fired, just the truth from your peers. But you out here clowning, beating off fears. So Turtle, let's get it straight, just for the record. Real ones rise up, and we're never gonna flex. Telling a story, we ain't out here to roast. But for real, justice for Karen, that's what matters the most. Yo, let's break it down.